It's Saturday night, man, in Hollywood. So guess what? It's time for this. Welcome to Fat Man Beyond. I'm Kevin Smith.
I am Mark Bernardin.
Hey!
Oh.
We got some shit to talk about. Welcome to the first ever Fat Man Beyond of 2021. Mark, how was your new year?
It was sedate. You know, I was not one of those people crashing party houses in the Hollywood Hills filled with hundreds of revelers.
You say that, you're implying I did.
I imply nothing. I'm just saying you live in the hills and you know some folks. And
it was quiet. It was so quiet here. Like at midnight, or 5 minutes or maybe 2 minutes to midnight, we went upstairs onto the top deck. And for those that don't follow, I live up in the Hollywood Hills. So if you know where the Grauman's Chinese Theater is, or TCL Chinese Theater rather, you could walk to my house from there. It'd take you a couple minutes and you're going up a hill, but I'm real fucking close. So even though we live that proximity to Hollywood Boulevard, we never hear Hollywood Boulevard, even when life was bustling and people were out and shit. We're kind of nestled up in the hills, so it kind of cuts off the sound. So it was quiet. We went out on the deck, dead fucking quiet in our neighborhood. And then I heard something, and I looked up, and Mary Lou Henner from Taxi lives above me. The lady with the fucking killer memory. Like she remembers everything. She remembers a time when we weren't fucking breathing through masks, Mark. I could barely remember that anymore. So her and her family were on their fucking deck, like doing the same thing and shit. And so people were starting to woo, woo. And then you start hearing other neighbors, but like from their backyards and shit like that. And then like people started counting down 10 seconds, the whole fucking neighborhood. And the neighborhood's not like houses next to each other. They're fucking spread out and shit. But everyone's yelling through the canyon like 9, 8, 7. We counted down and everyone was screaming, Happy New Year. And I was like, fuck you, 2020. This is really it was somber and quiet. But no parties, but there was this weird little community moment. I felt like fucking I was a network. I was like, I'm mad as hell. And I'm not going to take 2020 anymore.
Kirk 182.
Wow. Deep guts. What was it? It was like someone new, Sullivan Blue, Turk 182.
Tyler 2 and Sullivan Blue or something.
What did you guys do? You just home with the family? Did you watch anything?
We went to the Stranger Things drive-in experience. Which is, that seems to be the only live theater that's happening anymore in any real way is come to this place, stay in your car and drive through and we'll show you some shit through your car windows. And I've been to a handful of them. Like there was one for Christmas, like it's the holiday lights. And then there was the Halloween one. And you're just driving through and like, look, there's jack-o'-lanterns and look, there's more jack-o'-lanterns. And look, that jack-o'-lantern is carved like famous people. Ooh. But this was sponsored and done in participation with Netflix. And it's this big fucking thing where you go downtown. Oh, yeah. They spent money on this. Lots of money. And I spent lots of money.
It's just like the first thing I hear is like, Stranger Things drive-through. Who's fucking paying for that? And then when you're like Netflix, I'm like, of course, yes. They're paying for it.
But yeah, you go downtown. It's in like the arts district of downtown LA. And, the holding pen for 1,000 cars is like the Starcourt Mall parking lot. And they got like a little show up on the screen, but there's a chemical leak. And then you go into this parking garage. And basically you're spiraling up into this thing. And you're going through like the rift. And you're seeing the Demogorgon and doing it in a suit. And you're seeing the kids from Scoops Ahoy. And they're running between cars. And then you're moving through the upside down. And then it is super well done. Like the light show. And there's snow in the atmosphere. And like giant screens kind of telling you this weird abridged version of the story until you get to the roof of the parking garage and they've got one of those giant projection screens that they put up. It's like literally the width of the entire parking lot. And they do the big final battle between the Mind Flayer and the guy with the hair, Michael, I think his name was, and then 11. And so you've got this kid up on the wires with her head shaved bald and
spoilers, motherfucker. I ain't seen the show. Now I'm way up to date. I feel like I don't have to watch it.
Anyway, it was like an hour-long experience. You know, when you stayed in your car, the kids loved it because there was a little bit of like a haunted house vibe too. Like people would come to the side of the car window and like bang on a window. Yes, I wasn't expecting it. But that was cool. And then went home and like played board games and watched Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve.
Was it free, the Netflix thing?
No, it was expensive, the Netflix thing for the consumer, and still sold out through, like, I bought tickets in November for New Year's Eve. And I think now if you want tickets, it's middle of January, maybe late January.
Wow, man. And they're charging. Good for them and shit. Most people
Oh,
give away shit like fucking come walk through this and it's promotional. How
no.
awesome that they're like, fuck that. We're gonna make money off this shit.
Oh yeah. They gotta pay all these not child actors to pretend to be teenagers. Sure.
It's true. That's gotta be real Finn Wolf hard.
Nice.
Thank you. From one pun, lousy pun to a good pun. It's a happy day, kids. A happy birthday today. Here on Fat Man Beyond, we don't get to do the show unless we do it, well, generally at the Scum and Villainy Cantina, where it's owned by our good friend JC. And JC, is his birthday today. JC, come on with us, man.
Hello.
Happy birthday, JC.
Thanks.
How old?
I am 40 years old today. 40. It's a big one.
Fucking 40-year-old non-virgin. We know that because you got a baby. Fucking A, man. Well, what we've set up, kids, for this entire episode is since we all get this show for free and whatnot, y'all were so good about when we did a benefit or when we've done benefits, plural and whatnot. So this show is going to benefit that guy right below us, man. It's JC's birthday show. There's a link. What is it in the chat, JC?
It's in the description. I can paste it in the chat as well. It's streamlabs.com/Scum and Villainy Cantina.
If you love this show and you love that man who makes the show possible down below, Mr. JC Riefenberg. Is it Riefenberg or Reifenberg?
Reifenberg.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
It's not too fucking German. I'm married to a Schwalbach, so fucking what am I talking about? If you want to help out JC Reifenberg, ladies and gentlemen, there is a link you go to, man. Show him some fucking birthday love, man. He's made these home shows possible and whatnot. Plus, he's got a goddamn new kid, for heaven's sakes.
And he was supposed to have like the best birthday vacation ever, right? You were going to tour Star Wars filming locations. And-
Oh, that's right. Tell him.
Yeah. So I was supposed to. I think I said this last week or 2 weeks ago. My 40th birthday plan. When I turned 39, I said to Jen, my fiance, not Jen, your wife, that I was. Who's also
Reifenberg Schwalbach.
Who's also Jen Smith, which is really confusing.
It's strange. Yes.
I said for my 40th birthday, I want to go and start in Northern California and visit every filming location for the first 6 Star Wars movies. And so that was the plan.
Cool, man. That's really cool. So what would that, like, just off the top of your head, what are those places? So are you talking about like Tunisia?
So I was going to start up in Northern California and go to Endor, and then hit Death Valley, go down to Guatemala, which was Yavin 4, then shoot across to England to see the sound stages that they shot on, and then go over to Norway, which is Hoth, then go down to Italy, which is Naboo, and then end in Tunisia, which was Tatooine. So I was going to take like 3 or 4 weeks and just take pictures of me with my action figures in all the different spots.
Yeah, that's cool.
And then COVID, and then I had a baby. So now I was like, well, maybe I can do it for 50 when she's 10, maybe.
A family trip.
See, well, I think the family trip will be Jen and the baby will go stay in Italy for a month while I go to all the places they have no interest in.
I don't know, a 10-year-old daughter of yours that's built from some of your semen, I'm sure is going to be interested in fucking Star Wars locations, man. Plus, you'll have the bars, family fucking business, for heaven's sakes.
Or she will not care at all.
That's what I'm concerned about, is that she's just going to be like, she's going to spend enough time out in my studio, which looks like your office only with Star Wars crap, that she doesn't want anything to do with Star Wars.
You
Yeah.
don't know. You don't know. Then again, my kid don't give a fuck about Star Wars.
Mine neither.
Yeah,
But
I mean, she's seen the movie, like the movies, but she's not like, oh my god, they're my religion or anything like that. Nor does she give a fuck about the Peanuts, which like blows my mind. I'm like, kind of fucking red-blooded American kid don't like Snoopy, and there's an entire generation of red-blooded American kids that never heard of fucking Snoopy. Go figure, man. It's so weird. Must be like when my parents started like noticing pop culture change, where I'm like, let's go see Star Wars, and they're like, Star Wars? What about Bonanza and shit like that? That's where I am right now, old man style. All right, so it's JC's fucking birthday show, ladies and gentlemen. So while we talk about Cobra Kai a little bit and talk about the news and do some Q&As and stuff, start pumping out, start opening up your hearts and your wallets, and let's shower JC with some birthday gold. A golden shower for JC on his birthday, ladies and gentlemen.
Make it rain.
Yes, in the best possible way. Speaking of the best possible way, you have not dove into Cobra Kai, Mark, have you?
I have not. I saw the very first episode of the very first season and like dug it, but for some reason never went any further. Not because just
as mentioned before, I'm still, fucking still haven't caught up with Stranger Things. So sometimes a thing just slips by you. When Cobra Kai started on YouTube Red, I guess it was, their premium or whatever, I didn't catch it until right before season 2 launched. They put up another billboard and it said, season 1, all available, season 2 this day. So I joined up for YouTube Red so I could watch it, and I binged the fuck out of that show, man. I loved fucking season 1 and season 2 of Cobra Kai. I was like incredibly heartbroken and crestfallen by the season finale, which was Empire Strikes Back, fucking tragic and shit, where you were like, wait, what? That's how you're going to leave it? And I couldn't wait for season 3. And then, of course, as we learned, Netflix picked up the show. YouTube Red, I don't think they exist anymore. So all the episodes went to Netflix, and over the summer, the show became, or over the quarantine, I guess over the summer, the show became fucking huge, and rightfully so. This is honestly like one of the most entertaining, one of the most heartfelt fucking shows. It is truly a soap opera in the best possible way. I am incredibly wrapped up with these characters. I had no idea how much I enjoy the Miyagi verse, for lack of a better description, because it's constantly weaving in faces, that we saw in only a couple movies, man. You saw them in Karate Kid 2, 3, maybe fucking 4, and that was it. So they're really great, the storytellers, the creators and whatnot. Their names escape me, but I was really happy to see that two of them directed the first 2 episodes of the season, which I was always like, that's what showrunners should do, man. If you write this shit, you should definitely direct it, because it's not like directing takes, brilliance and shit like that. If I fucking direct, anyone could direct. And so I was happy to see that 2 of them co-directed the first 2 episodes of this current season. I have watched the first 2 episodes. I'm midway through the 3rd episode of season 3. Show has not fucking disappointed. I've already cried 4 fucking times. It's insanely well done. The plotting that they do, like, part of me would love to be in the writer's room as they fucking like must congratulate the fuck out of themselves going, oh, that's going to be amazing. Because it is each and every fucking time. Everyone's motivations are perfectly clear and make sense. They brought back Martin Cove, Kreese, who is the Cobra Kai fucking instructor. He came in, I think, if I remember, season 2. So by the end of the season 2, he's just like chaos incarnate, and he fucking takes over the dojo and shit. And in the 2nd episode of season 3, they do a really nice piece of fucking storytelling. Spoilers if you haven't watched episodes 1 or 2 of season 3 of Cobra Kai. Skip this. It's not like I can't spoil that much, but There's this wonderful opening to the scene because the whole show is clearly about mentors and students. Like everyone's a Miyagi in this show. Daniel LaRusso is a Miyagi. Johnny is a Miyagi, and even Kreese is a fucking Miyagi. And it's like 3 different senseis, and how each of their pupils go out into the world more or less. And for me, like the fact that I'm deeply into the adult characters because I recognize them from the movies I grew up watching, where I'm like, holy fuck, Kreese is back. But they do an excellent job, these storytellers. Somebody, JC, pull up their names. I don't want to keep calling them the storytellers. There's 3 of them. So the first stoner, I know one of them's Hurwitz, because I'm always like, Mitchell Hurwitz, and it's not Mitchell Hurwitz, but it's another Hurwitz, man. And apparently that name is TV gold. You're a Hurwitz, you're a fucking great writer as far as I'm fucking concerned. They do this opening of episode 2 with this flashback to like a tough guy in the 60s and shit. And he's a real prick. And clearly it's Kreese. Like they're going to tell you a little bit of Kreese's backstory. And then this guy bullies this fucking nice busboy and shit like that. And then a serviceman comes in and he's just like, Vietnam needs people like you, son. And he gives the jock Kreese looking guy this fucking, pamphlet. And the guy walks away, the army guy walks away, and the bully jock guy tosses it, crumples it, throws it on the ground like, fuck this. And the busboy picks it up, and you're like, no, what a wonderful bait and switch. That ain't fucking Kreese. This is Kreese. And they gave Kreese a fucking origin where they humanized him, man, where they didn't make him a good guy, but they're not like, he's just a mustache twirling fucking movie villain prick. They gave him a backstory where, it doesn't necessarily excuse him being what he is, but it tells you why he is the way he is, man. I'm telling you, I'm sure someone out there will like crap on me and be like, come on, this is remedial storytelling. But it's incredible remedial storytelling. Like, I don't think it's remedial. I don't think anybody can fucking look at this show and see anything but an intricately plotted, wonderful love letter to childhood, but also to adulthood, man. Like, it reminds me of Degrassi, The Next Generation, where it's like they're able to take the characters you love, then bring in a bunch of new characters that at your age you shouldn't give a shit about. But I love the kids, like the Karate Kids in the show. There's a whole generation of kids. And last season ended with a big fucking fight in school. And the opening of this episode, they acknowledged it. Like they had the news where they were like, something what we could only describe as a karate riot happened in the school and shit. It's well acted, well written, well directed, and every fucking episode that you usually get some fucking karate and you forget, like, because it's so well made and you're enjoying the soap opera theatrics and the characters and their relationships to one another. You're really rooting for all these motherfuckers. But at the same time, every once in a while, they're like, plow. And you're like, oh shit. Like, I forget how thrilling it is to watch fuckers hit each other and shit, even if it's, they're blocking and whatnot. So it's fucking beautiful. It's truly a love letter. I'm to what? I don't know. Not even I was going to say to the genre. I don't know what genre it is, but it's quality, whatever it is, hands down. It's one of those things that you watch and you're like, I should quit. Like, well, I'm not going to ever make something as fucking wonderful as this. I can't wait to get back to it. I've only watched the 2 episodes. I did not binge for only this reason. I got deeply into writing for the last week. So I went into Clerks 3 and, I got to this point where I was like reading the news and I'm like, fuck this world. So I went to a fake one. And it was so much better there. And man, oh man, I've been having like a fucking blast. You know how when you're writing something and you're like, you don't want to sleep. Like I've been only sleeping like 5 hours, which is generally what I sleep anyway. But I've been getting right the fuck up because I'm like, I want to go back. Like I want to dive in. Like, wait, what are they going to say next? Like, what's going to be the next scene? So I've been on a fucking roll, man. And I timed it with like, I started a fast because after Christmas, well, during Christmas, that whole fucking Christmas week and after Christmas, before kind of New Year's. Well, I guess like 2 days after Christmas, I was eating myself to like death during Christmas. Just a lot of comfort eating. I was eating multiple bagels with like plural and shit like that. So I started a fast. So I'm writing while I'm fasting. And there's part of me that's like, maybe I should fucking see if I could take it all the way to the end. See if I could take it like to like finish the script before I eat. Now, before, trigger warning, some people get real fucking like, hey man, what the fuck? I like to fast. And I'm an intermittent faster, meaning I eat on a 20/4 schedule and stuff. But then sometimes like after I've like gone crazy as I did over Christmas, I like to dive into a deep fast where I take days where I don't eat. My body still has fat that it can consume and shit like that. And I've, read up on fasts and whatnot, talked to professionals. So I don't go into it ignorant by any stretch of the imagination. And it's worked for me completely. I don't suggest it necessarily for anybody else. Talk to your doctor, talk to health professionals if you're remotely interested in that sort of thing. I got to say all this shit because some people get triggered because to them, I guess it reads like eating disorder, right? Because to some people, you're not eating for days at a stretch. Isn't that like what anorexia is or something like that? But I fucking love to eat and I just take a window where I don't. And then, when that window's fucking open again, believe me, I go back to eating. So there's a lot of disclaimers because I put up a fucking text like on or an Instagram a couple months ago and like I got slammed by a bunch of people who were like, this is insensitive, man. Like a lot of people, I forgot, like some people go through eating disorders and whatnot. So if you're triggered by that, fuck off for a minute or two because I just want to finish talking about that because it's part of my program and whatnot and it works for me. I am on 115 hours right now of not eating, not hungry at all. Just hiked Runyon Canyon, hiked it yesterday for the first time in like 3 fucking weeks, and then hiked it again right before we came and did the show. Feel great and stuff like that. So I know I'm going to make it like I want to hit JC's mark. JC, jump on real quick. Last big fast I did, I went 138 hours. What's your record, JC?
It was 6 days. So let me look it up.
You got to 140 if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think I was just beyond you because you were texting me about it. And I was like,
no, I was like 138. Yeah. Then when JC was like, I'm 140, I was like, God damn it. So this time around, I'm going to hit 140 at least. But there's a part of me that's like, maybe I should just keep going until I'm done with the script, man, because it's been a nice preoccupation, like writing the script. Prior to this, when I watch TV, that's when I tend to like eat and particularly overeat and stuff. So writing, I don't eat and I broke myself of reward behavior. So it's not like I wrote a good 5 pages. I'm going to fucking eat a sub or something like that. So I don't know. I probably will stop tomorrow when I hit 140, which would be like a record for me. For anyone who's like, what the fuck? I've slowly built up to that. I started with like a 24-hour fast and got to a 72-hour fast and have slowly built up to it and stuff. But again, if you're interested in that sort of thing, talk to your doctor or read up on it before you give it a shot. A lot of great videos on YouTube about it by healthcare professionals. JC can vouch. JC's a skinny mini. I still to this day, I always go like, why the fuck did you do it? But it's not about losing weight.
Yeah,
it's also about.
Yeah, it was just about it. A lot of people do the cleanses or the juice cleanse or whatever. It's just kind of like that. And it's always something where like if I started feeling sick or if I felt lightheaded, I would immediately stop.
Right. Same thing here. Like if I was like, oh my God, I'm dizzy and shit, believe me, I'd fucking be all over some hummus in a heartbeat. But, and again, this is not me trying to make it seem tempting to people, but this is just my story. Doesn't go for everybody. But after day one, I really don't think about it. The only times I think about eating are when I get bored, because again, my body's consuming itself and it's not consuming fucking muscle. I still have a lot of fucking fat. I don't have a lot of muscle. There's no muscle to fucking consume. So my body goes right for all the stored fat. So as I as my body eats itself and whatnot, I'm not hungry because it's being fed. And so like I can go, as particularly if I'm preoccupied, but if I break and start watching shit, that's where, you know, suddenly I'm like, you know what would make this better? Like fucking
Chocolate.
chips or food or anything. And then I graze like for hours at a time as I watch the thing. That's the behavior that I want to break in 2021. But one of my favorite things in the world is to eat and watch TV. It would be a real hard habit to break. But, you know, I fucking, my time to play is over. So in any event, I was writing Clerks 3 and they dropped Karate Kid, Cobra Kai yesterday. And if I wasn't involved in my own storytelling and deeply in love with what I was doing, I would have been fucking all over that shit. But today, since I knew we were doing the show, I got to page 62 on my script and stuff. So I'm like over halfway. And so I was like, you know what? I will put this down. And, you know, I feel like it'd be ridiculous for us to do the show without at least one of us touching on Cobra Kai, which has become such a fucking sensation. So I was able to get in 2.5 episodes, and the bar is still incredibly fucking high. I'm so delighted that Ralph Macchio said yes. Because remember, as we know and read, like for a long time, he was like, I don't want to do this and stuff. And I feel so happy for like everybody, like Martin Kove and Billy Zabka, like all these cats who were like, oh, that was then. It's like, you know, that happened years ago. Nobody's fucking saw this coming. And it's legit wonderful. Not only is it like, hey, come on back for one more fucking bite at the apple. They've created a whole new orchard. Like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful fucking storytelling. You would love this. You would absolutely fucking love it. Like, I never push shit on you, but I'm telling you, and this is something you can watch with your kids. Like, oh, it's multi-generational. This is good shit, man. So give it your time. I watched something that you suggested.
Ooh,
Watched Ted Lasso this week.
Yes.
Fucking fantastic. I'm telling you, man, this ain't me complaining, but Apple Plus has to do a lot better at fucking selling their shows. Because I've looked at that for months and been like, and I love Jason Sudeikis, but I'm like, fucking football, I don't care. And it's like you said, it's like it has much to do with football as you know, Queen's Gambit has to do with chess. It's character study. And what a fantastic character study. Like, it's legit wonderful, laugh out loud funny, but adorable. Not like, you know, dirty and shit like I do. Like, there's this one line where he was talking to him, he's trying to get the team to like bond, and he goes, pillow fight or movie night? And they're like, movie night. And he's like, all right, but you choose pillow fight one time, we'll never have movie night again. Like, it was so fucking legit funny. And a really wonderful, warm, like tale, like easily digestible 25-minute episodes. You got through that whole season in under 4 hours, and it was a gift. Like, I don't know who said, like, it's kind of like Parks and Rec, but it does have that kind of warmth, man. It was absolutely wonderful. So thank you for that suggestion. Mine back to you is watch Cobra Kai. So
I think I will because we just finished Schitt's Creek, all 6 seasons of Schitt's Creek. Which was lovely and wonderful, and
my wife loves it.
Yeah, similar to Ted Lasso in that it's unironic to a thing that is usually done with irony. You know, that sense of, are these people just good? Are they just learning their lesson? You know, like Ted Lasso is about, you know, this guy who is kind of unrepentantly optimistic, and it's easy to make that guy the butt of jokes. But the show does the hard work of like, oh, no, there's dimensions to this person, but, and there are people absolutely don't understand him. But if you spend a day with Ted Lasso, you kind of get it. But if you spend like 2 or 3 episodes with Ted Lasso, like, you understand that, you know, he's not necessarily running from anything, although there's a storyline which explains exactly why he's in London.
Why he's there, yeah.
Why he's there. But it's so emotionally mature about the desire to separate from things that you might love, the desire to learn a new thing when you're later in life, you know, ways to approach relationships with a sense of curiosity, Like there's a great speech towards the end of the first season, which is all about like people underestimating their whole life. And I realized they just weren't curious, because if you're curious, then you take the time to know somebody and understand
that is
they
a
might
great,
be great.
that's a great speech, a really great. You know, in the beginning, as he started doing it, I was like, oh, his is kind of cornball. And then once he got to the meat of it, the heart of it, I was like, oh my God, this is phenomenal writing. Who's behind this fucking show?
Bill Lawrence, who was the guy who did Scrubs.
Because I saw that Zach Braff directed an episode.
Yeah, Bill Lawrence and Sudeikis. Like this was born out of a fucking NBC sports ad campaign, like 4 years ago for the Olympics. Like there's a couple of ads that are just Ted Lasso. And apparently Sudeikis was unwilling to give it up and just kept on hammering at it and got Bill Lawrence on board. And then they were like, yeah, let's make a fucking show. But it's
so good.
Headroom origin story of like, it was an ad that then became a show, and the show kind of became pretty great.
I can't, it was such a great suggestion. You and somebody else was saying to watch it too. I can't remember. Was it JC or I forget, but somebody else was like saying, give that a fucking watch. And what a great time I had with it. Like me and my wife rarely watch stuff together as much as we should. She's usually watching a lot of fucking like Dateline. This motherfucker killed another motherfucker. I can't stand shit like that. She watches a lot of Snapped, and which always spooks me out because I'm like, fuck, each one of the shows is like, this is how she got away with killing her husband. And I'm like, so yeah, she's taking notes. So you know, there's like, she's not gonna watch Cobra Kai with me. Like, you know, the show that I cannot fucking wait, and I'd like fuck my script, I'd step on anyone's neck to see, is WandaVision. She's probably not going to watch WandaVision with me either and stuff. Mandalorian, she, you know, I showed her highlights of Mandalorian and she really dug, but she didn't like sit through the show or anything. Ted Lasso, she did, and absolutely loved. Moonbase 8, which is on Showtime, and with Fred Armisen, another one that we both watched together and absolutely fucking loved. But yeah, high recommendation for everybody. I know it's out of genre, Ted Lasso, but it's so fucking good. Cobra Kai, in genre. Watch it as soon as possible, man. Because unlike the first two seasons of Cobra Kai, like where it was happening in a vacuum, more or less, unless you had YouTube Red, now it's happening on the world stage of Netflix. It's fucking worldwide, and everyone has found out how fucking lovely the goddamn thing is. So it's going to be a constant topic of conversation for the next month. You might as well dive in because it's not homework. It is so fucking beautifully done. It's one of those magical things where I'm telling you, the closest thing I could point to is Degrassi for me, where it is just the right amount of earnestness, because the show can be incredibly corny in the best possible way. But the storytelling and how much these storytellers care about the characters and the source material. I take my hat off to them, man. Like it's a model show for anybody that's like, let's take an old thing and make it a fucking new thing. But it's a model show, even if you didn't have a fucking old thing. It really helps that they had an old thing because you're already emotionally invested. But that got me there through the door. That hasn't kept me around for 3 seasons. What's kept me around for 3 seasons is expert storytelling, as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, some people will be like, come on, expert. And I'm like, I'm a fucking 50-year-old man, and I make my own fucking movies, and I can go out and entertain and shit like that. It takes a lot to get me off my fucking horse and be like, all right, I'm going to sit down and watch something. And these cats do it effortlessly, man. This is like something that I'm willing to put aside, creating my own shit, you know, getting ahead in my own career, willing to put that aside for this. And you don't say that about a lot of things, man. So it's definitely worth looking out for.
I was going to wait until Hilary Swank and Jaden Smith showed up, but I think I will instead.
Jaden Smith. I mean, I heard the Hilary Swank thing. I hadn't heard the Jaden Smith thing. I guess that's completely possible too. I hadn't really thought
The
about that.
Voltron of Karate Kids.
That's true. The into the multiverse and shit, into the Miyagi verse.
What if you guys make a bet or a pact that Mark will watch Cobra Kai as you watch the Fast and the Furious movies?
I know, but it shouldn't. Mine is punishment. Mark's is that's a gift that I'm giving him, man. Watch Cobra Kai. Holy shit. I ain't fucking watching anything while I'm writing my fucking movie. Like, cause honestly, I'm in love with my movie right now. And in a way that I ain't been in love with like a lot of shit in a long time. And I love what I do, but I'm like, it's crazy. Like it just makes sense. I've been doing it now for like over a quarter of a century. So it better fucking come natural. But as I'm writing, I'm sitting there going like, oh my God, like this fucking, what a great way to end a scene. And I'm like, well, duh, this is like fucking you've been doing. You better be able to end a fucking scene properly after all this time. And catching up with everybody and seeing where they are. And I've talked about what the story of Clerks 3 is. It's literally about them making Clerks. So essentially it's for me, it's like a real fucking fun trip down memory lane, but with my characters taking our parts instead. So that's something that like once I'm done with that, then I'll relax and start watching other things. But I may continue to dip into Karate Kid. The danger, Cobra Kai. The danger is that, I'll be like, well, I'm just gonna get one more. I'm just gonna get one more. I'm just gonna get one more. And then, I've lost a day and shit. I'm on a roll with my shit. So I'll be heading back to it. So no Fast and the Furious yet. But in 2021, I promise, because that movie's finally coming this summer, we think.
It allegedly is coming this summer.
I am going to watch Fast and the Furious, and me and Mark are going to do Fat Man Beyond, what was it called?
It's Fast and by Curious.
Yes. Fast and by Curious. And I'm doing it, kids, just because that's a funny fucking title. That's why it's worth doing. Birthday show, ladies and gentlemen. Not mine, not Mark's. JC's birthday, man. You wanna wish JC Reifenberg and Scum and Villainy Cantina itself a happy birthday? Click on that link, throw him a few shekels and whatnot. I got money sitting here for JC. I just ain't seen him in fucking months, man. I'm talking cash, bro. None of that check bullshit. You got a cash. I'm talking.
I know. I got to get down to Hollywood again.
That's true.
Now that the bar's closed, I'm not down there very often.
How is baby life, sir?
It's good. I was up till 2 a.m. last night working on some Scum and Villainy stuff. And I went, oh God, this is going to be brutal. I'm going to have to wake up in an hour and a half to change and feed the baby because I take the overnight shift. And the baby.
You're the night guy, really? You do
I'm
nights?
the night guy, yeah. Because I'm pretty good at waking up, doing what I have to do, and then falling back asleep. Where Jen is up or cranky. Like, she needs a lot more sleep than I do. But last night, Jocelyn slept for 9 straight hours. She slept from 9:30 p.m. till 7:30 this morning. So that
Holy
was
shit.
Yeah.
If you're in the audience and you're like, is that a good thing? I sleep for 9 hours all the time. And because you've never had a baby, that is a massive thing. Like a wonderful thing for new parents, particularly because kids don't like to sleep that often. 9 hours, that's great.
Yeah, to the point that like she's been so good with sleep, and everybody's like, "Are you exhausted yet?" I was like, "No, I'm not." That I started Googling if she would like had a problem. Like if your 7-week-old baby is sleeping more than 8 hours at a time, is something wrong with her? And everybody's like, no, something's wrong with you for complaining about it. I wanted to shout out Hayden Schlossberg is the other guy on Cobra Kai.
Well, it's Hayden Schlossberg. Who are the other two?
John Hurwitz is the main guy. Those guys have each directed 10 episodes. And then there's a Jennifer Salota and Josh Heald have each done 6 episodes.
I think it's Hurwitz. What's the other name?
Schlossberg.
And I think Heald was their third. Like in the creative,
yeah.
it's 3 names. it's they're doing their Lord's work. I met them at San Diego Comic-Con back when we had that sort of thing. And when I was on the IMD boat interviewing people and stuff. And I interviewed the cast and I fucking just waxed on and waxed off all over them and shit about how much I love the show. And so the creators were there and, you know, they were like, oh my God, fucking like we couldn't believe how much you loved it. I was like, are you kidding me? Fucking this show's gold. So I'm so happy for them, man. This is a town where it's very easy not to be happy for the success of others, particularly when sometimes the others are like real horrible people and shit. But, you know, this show, I wish everyone the fucking best. I hope they keep making this for fucking years and shit. I hope they keep making it until Ralph Macchio is as old as Pat Morita was. And I think he is by now.
He might be.
I think he is actually the age Pat Morita is and stuff. How they weave Miyagi in there and the mythos of Miyagi when they don't have Pat Morita to play with is expert. Like he's, you know, he passed away, but he's in every episode of the show and his presence is felt in every episode of the show. Oh, you know, it's the show, I'm telling you, it's a cry fest for me because I'm like, it's that wonderfully cheesy kind of storytelling where you're like, like the end of episode fucking 1, you know, I'm not going to spoil it, but everybody's seen the trailer and shit. So they know shit works out for one of the characters, but you knew it was coming and still it was set up so perfectly. And the one kid's in a fucking coma and he keeps in the coma. He's in a match, like where he's fighting somebody and somebody keeps beating him and stuff. And he's faintly hearing voices from the real world, but they, you know, I'm going to cry. It's so good. Of course it's fucking Johnny's voice that like connects with him. And I was like, oh, so fucking good. It's a wonderful show. All right, let's dive in to the news, shall we? Mark Bernard, he don't fuck around. It's maybe a new year, maybe 2021. And he may be a fucking a writer, professional writer paid to give you entertainments, but he also knows how to do the news. He sniffs out some fucking news and he's ready to snort the fucking news this week, do some bumps, some rails of news. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Bernard with the news. What news we got?
We have, you know, it's.
Oh, wait, we didn't talk about Soul.
Well, we'll get to it after the news because I got my top 12. And so we can.
Fucking sweet. All right. So no questions. We got a top 12 this week.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how long this all takes. But the news, it's always a thin news week, the week between Christmas and New Year's. But because Wonder Woman 84 dropped on HBO Max and did pretty well, all things considered.
How do we know that? I mean, I'm not doubting it, but what's the metric for really well?
The metric seems to be subscribers and how many of the subscribers actually watched. And so Warner Brothers reported that nearly half of HBO Max's retail subscribers watched Wonder Woman 84 on Christmas Day.
So that's good.
So that's good. That, you know, there's been some retention. There was a couple surveys done saying that, you know, like 23% of the people had signed up for it simply because of Wonder Woman 84, and like 19 or 20% decided to remain subscribers after watching Wonder Woman 1984, all of which is good news for Warner Brothers. And it did open in some theaters, like it was in, you know, some 2,100 theaters in the States and across the world. And in the week since it's been open, the worldwide total is $100 million. It's made $100 million around the world.
Which, you know, is a huge fucking figure. One of these, sorry. Thank you. A huge fucking figure. I wish I could make $100 million doing anything, but Wonder Woman would have made $200 million in America opening weekend if there had been no such thing of COVID. So this is a great fucking COVID number and whatnot, and something they were prepared for. Warner Brothers not sitting there going, how did this happen? Like, you know, that's still the highest grossing film of the quarantine, I think, right?
Well, Tenet still worldwide pulled in $362 million. It's been in theaters for 5 months, you know, which is longer than your average movies in theaters. And it did get to play overseas before, you know, Europe and Asia began its own shutdowns and reopening processes. but it's a far sight from the 2017 gross of the first Wonder Woman, which was $822 million. But it's pretty good given where we are and when we are. And on the heels of that, Warner Brothers, made the no-brainer announcement that they're going to make a third Wonder Woman movie. And that
Yeah, I thought that was adorable. Where they were like,
Yeah.
"This movie's done so good. We guess what? Now we've decided to make a third one." It's like, come on, like,
yeah, I know. And Patty Jenkins is returning to direct and to write. Gal Gadot will be back. The press release was very specific in saying they will return to conclude the long-planned theatrical trilogy. They were not in any way, pretending that, Wonder Woman 1992 is going to be on HBO Max first. They're like, no.
or that they were like, well, we don't know if we're gonna keep going with this Wonder Woman thing.
Right. So yeah, they're saying it's theatrical. They're doubling down on their desire to nurture the theatrical business if and when it returns back to its robustness. The thing that's unclear is when in Patty Jenkins's upcoming time slot Wonder Woman 3 will be, because she's already committed to Rogue Squadron for Lucasfilm and Disney. So is Rogue Squadron going to be first? Is Wonder Woman 3 going to be first? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But hey, we get 2 more movies from Patty Jenkins, which is not a bad thing.
Wonder Woman is still dividing audiences. For as much as I enjoyed it, I've seen many people who are like, "You're a fucking crybaby idiot who enjoys everything," and they're not wrong, Mark. My bar is very low when it comes to stuff like that, but I still feel the movie's good, man. I went back and rewatched my favorite parts before I started writing my own thing. The cheetah fight, even as CG as it is, I love it. I'm like, I can't believe I lived long enough where I saw fucking Wonder Woman fight cheetah in real life. Like, this is fucking nuts. So, but then right after the cheetah fight is where I drop out. Because that's when she sits on the floor for the third act and says, nice things, very nice things. But I was glad we had a cheetah fight because
I watched HBO Max now has the first couple seasons of Wonder Woman on there, like
the Carter Wonder Woman.
So I watched. I got like halfway through the pilot, which is so fucking daffy because the first 2 acts there's no Diana in it. It is literally just Steve Trevor and Nazis, like all about these fucking Nazis.
Well, think about it. You're doing a TV show in the 70s. So they're like, nobody's going to fucking tune in. If we show them a woman right in the first frame, they'll go running. What is this, a soap opera? So, they were like, let's get some action in there. Steve Trevor taking on Nazis so that your dad would sit there and watch it. And then once, then they'd be hooked because they're watching an action thing. And then suddenly they get to Paradise Island. It was not in Themyscira in fucking TV show. And you get to Paradise Island. And so your dad would be like, look at all these women and shit. I like this show. I could see that. That would make sense. That's not what I would do, but it seems like a 70s approach to telling the story.
It very much does, but I remember watching it with my son who's like, when does Wonder Woman show up in the Wonder Woman show? I'm like, that's a fair point, buddy. I'm not sure. And then you get to Paradise Island and it's just like a lingerie catalog because nobody's wearing full clothes. So here's Diana running on the beach with her friend. And it's like, why are you wearing a nightie? Where's your pants? This is so weird. And Cloris Leachman plays
Paradise Island, Mark. Paradise.
Yes.
That's what Paradise is. Who knew that, like, they predicted one day we'd all be running around in our fucking PJs and shit because nobody leaves their houses anymore.
But the best part is Cloris Leachman plays her brother. And Cloris Leachman clearly is only just, she got a script and she's saying all the words in the script, but she's making every choice when it comes to playing her mother. Because there's times when she's, well, Diana, no, you can't be his nurse. And she's staring at this fucking apple as if the secret to the universe is in it. And then she just tosses it over her shoulder and picks up another one. And she's like, No, Daniel, you can't be his nurse. And then there's a brazier with smoke in it, and she starts lounging on it. Like she must have just been like, we're not directing her. She's doing whatever she wants to do, but she's saying all the words in the script, so we can't cut. So, and it's Cloris fucking Leachman. Okay.
What was her name? Did they call her Hippolyta or no?
No, it's just like mother. They never actually give her a name. But I highly recommend going back to the historical artifact that is the Wonder Woman pilot and just marveling at all of it because it's kind of amazing.
In chat, Molly Ringworm said, still not as bad as Catwoman 2004.
That is fair.
Yeah, we see you in chat. And everybody's saying, who is it? Juana Beetle says Cloris Leachman was miscast in the pilot episode.
Oh, yes, but it's hilarious because she's in a completely different show, but saying the lines that belong in this one.
I have not looked at that in a while. I'm rewatching over on Hollywood Babylon. We're doing the caped commentaries where I'm watching every episode of Batman 66 with Ralph. And we just finished up season 1. We're going to do the movie and then head into season 2 coming up this year and stuff. But, that one is more my speed. I just remember as a kid, even though I watched Wonder Woman every week, there was, I was like, come on, get out of the army clothes, put on your outfit, go see a costume, stay in the costume the whole episode, even if you're just like not doing anything important, just superhero costume.
So yeah, the next and last news story, because again, it's a skinny week. But it dovetails in with that first one, which is the DC Films plan going forward. Walter Hamada, who's the DC Films president, there was a big profile on him in the New York Times, and he just sort of confirmed what their plan was for their upcoming DC slate. And the big, at least to me, surprise was not that we're going to get more Wonder Woman, and not that March is going to be when Justice League Director's Cut, the Zack Snyder cut comes out, but how they're
March is the Snyder cut.
March is the Snyder cut. Don't know when in March, but March. But the decision on Warner Brothers and DC Films' part to bifurcate the way they're going to be releasing films, because they now have to feed HBO Max, is a very real part of their ongoing strategy. So for them, the most expensive DC movies will be designed for movie theaters, as they always have been, like Wonder Woman and Aquaman, and the Aquaman sequel, and The Rock's Black Adam film, and this Flash movie, whenever that happens. And so they want to be releasing 4 of those movies a year, starting in 2022.
What was Marvel doing before we all had to go inside?
Marvel was at its max 3 movies a year. I think there were some years where you only got 2. You got 1 in summer and 1 in sort of fall, Christmassy. I think Endgame year we got 3. But yeah, 3 seems to be the most that they did. 4 is very ambitious, while also similarly putting a couple of smaller, riskier comic book films on HBO Max. And so the plan is 6 movies a year.
I'm down with this plan.
I am too, in theory, and some of it is just me having to, I guess, get out of my head that there is any real difference anymore between what goes in theaters and what goes on HBO Max. Because, for them, the idea of their smaller, riskier movies are things like Batgirl and Static Shock, both of which don't seem like they're risky to me.
Those don't seem risky at all. So if you were going to do a Jonah Hex movie, that seems risky.
Right. It's what they're deciding is risky. And it's like, oh, the one about the ladies and the one about the black people are the ones that we're not sure would work in theaters, despite the abundance of evidence to the contrary,
particularly with their own company, with Wonder Woman. Like, if I'm them, I'm like, from the studio that brought you Wonder Woman, Batgirl, here we go.
Yeah, for sure. And given that Black Panther is the single highest solo grossing superhero movie ever, and Spider-Verse made a bunch of money and won a bunch of Oscars, and how you wouldn't think that there's similar upside to Static is a little boggling to the mind.
Particularly if you're going to tie it into like the DC universe in some way. You know, in the comics, they rarely did that. There was like a crossover, I think, once or something, but Milestone was in its own universe. But if they, in the movies, they don't have to abide by that. They could totally fucking throw, you know, oh shit, it's fucking Aquaman or whatever the fuck. Like, you know, throw it in there, make it interesting for cats who are like, who is this new character? But like some cats felt that way about Black Panther at one point. Who is this new character who wasn't new at all, but somebody, every comic book, or as Stan Lee told us, every comic book, or to paraphrase, every comic book movie is somebody's first comic book and or comic book movie. So yeah, you're right, man. That should be theatrical.
Yeah.
But I just make more. Like I'm glad that they're leaning into, you know, what seems like the Marvel plan. We're going to make movies and we're going to make TV shows. I mean, Suicide Squad already has a spinoff with Peacemaker.
You know, and
going to be amazing.
You know, and the Batman already has its own spinoff. Like they're also very much mindful of, not only do we need to put movies in theaters and movies on HBO Max, but now we got to spin off these movies into their own companion TV shows. For the
and
service.
If they're smart, they'll make them like Marvel seems to be making. You know, by all rumors and reports, like, did you see the this isn't news, but it's more rumor, that what's his name? Fucking Sherlock, Doctor Strange. Cumberbatch is reportedly showing up in WandaVision, which makes sense because the very next movie is Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and the storyline is going to continue into there. So it's one thing to be like, hey, we got a show. It's another thing for that show to be a bridge between sequels, you know what I'm saying? Or other movies or something. And it sounds like maybe DC get ready to do that themselves. Kevin Pinder is asking, no Hidalgo news? Did you follow that story at all?
Not really. That was the Star Wars media, like social media guy.
What was his name, Pablo Hidalgo or whatever?
Yeah.
He apparently made a joke about, like, you know, somebody put up a thing about like they cried watching the final episode of The Mandalorian, which I co-signed, so did I and shit. I'm on record crying about everything. So this cat said this and put it in a tweet or whatever, or tweeted up the link of him actually watching it and crying. And I guess this cat, Hidalgo, was like retweeted it and said something like, you know, you shouldn't show your feelings, or like, no, you're not allowed to show your feelings, or I don't know. But clearly it wasn't fucking serious, didn't seem serious. And then I guess a bunch of Twitter blew up at him because he works in Lucasfilm or for Lucasfilm. And so a bunch of people were saying like, what the fuck, man? Like, this is another instance of like Lucasfilm just shitting on the fan base and whatnot. I didn't go any deeper than like looking at the tweet. JC probably might have a little more info. He's our resident Star Wars guy at this point. But from what I read, it didn't seem like all that bad. JC, do you know more about this story?
I mean, I think that's basically it. I think, you know, Pablo was one of the like very strong Last Jedi supporters when all that was going on, and got real vocal about with fans that didn't like that movie and who were vocal about not liking the movie. So
we're getting it in the chat. Isaac Ruggles is saying Pablo crapped all over Star Wars Theory, one of the biggest Star Wars fans on YouTube. The YouTube shows YouTuber with Star Wars Theory. Do you know Star Wars Theory? Are you familiar with it?
I've watched some of his stuff. He's a Canadian guy. He's got about 500,000 subscribers, so he's big. But I didn't see what Pablo.
You see me light up when you said Canadian. I was a Canadian guy.
Well, you know,
show.
Yeah, you know he's a nice guy. You know.
Yeah, exactly. That's and also like I co-signed like the dude putting up a video of him crying at that episode of The Mandalorian. I'm sorry, you'd have to be a fucking robot not to cry or feel something at that last episode. If you grew up fucking watching Luke Skywalker and shit like that. So like, you know, he was completely in the right. Star Wars theory. And I don't think it doesn't sound like Pablo was in the wrong. It just sounded like he made a joke on Twitter that fucking landed poorly.
I think it looks weird because after all the Last Jedi stuff, Pablo made his Twitter private. And I think he was making a joke, very tongue-in-cheek. And look, like, I'm on record as not loving Last Jedi. So if I thought that Pablo was being a jerk,
just to correct, because you're getting attacked in chat. He has almost 3 million subscribers.
Okay, well, maybe
what was your number?
500,000.
Yeah, they were all over you on that one. Fuck you, JC. He's got 3 million, so he's very popular.
Yeah, we've only got 500,000 on this one. Maybe I was just trying to make us feel better.
Now you're making me feel bad.
But you know, look, if I thought he was actually being, if you want to roll back and watch Pablo be a jerk, roll back to December 2017. I don't think this was that when Last Jedi came out.
So what did he do during that point?
Anybody who was like, Last Jedi sucks, he's like, you suck. You don't know anything about
really?
Star Wars. Pablo is Lucasfilm's story team. And he's also, I mean, he goes deep. He knows Star Wars. He wrote a lot of those old West End games, Star Wars role-playing. That was, he knows everything about Star Wars. Like, he's the guy who, like, made up a lot of that backstory. But I don't think this was, I think this is people looking for a fight. Maybe with just cause because of things he said in the past, but I don't think that this was actually him inciting trouble.
Sithkill 308 in the chat says he posted on his Twitter after all that drama as retired after all of it, and he did apologize, and everyone still attacked him.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he apologized.
Sean Martin's on Twitter said it didn't really seem like much of a joke. I mean, why would he just, emotions are not for sharing. That's what he wrote. And then old school Shinobi says emotions are not for sharing. My God, what a way to crap on fans. Give me a break. I don't know the guy or anything, but I didn't read that as like, this is crapping on fans.
I didn't. And he was responding to somebody who said, I believe he responded to somebody else's tweet that was like, look at this kid crying about Star Wars. Get out of your mom's basement. Or something. That was
right. Something a little more combative or something.
Yeah,
but
Pablo said emotions are not to be shared. I don't think...
That sounded like I know it's not a quote from anything, but it sounded very Jedi or Sith-like. I thought he was making a Star Wars funny.
To me, it almost sounded like, I don't think he was validating the guy's tweet who was shitting on Star Wars theory. But I could also understand why it would seem that way because he has a private Twitter and he put it up as his banner image afterwards, which he explained.
That's what Sean M says. Pablo Hidalgo made it his Twitter banner to shame Star Wars theory. There's a lot of drama going on here.
What Pablo said, which I believe more than the shame, is I got that he was getting attacked, and he said, I put it up there so that because I have a private Twitter, so that people didn't think I was trying to hide something, so that they could see it without me making my Twitter public for everybody again. Which I think, sounds a lot more reasonable than like, hey, I'm an executive at Lucasfilm and I'm going to double down on crapping on the fans when I got called out for it. Like, I don't know. Also, why are we fighting? Like, everybody loves Mandalorian. Let's just talk about that. Why are we fighting?
I was going to say, like, fucking Mandalorian ended 1 week and fucking everyone's back at each other's throats, man. Like, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Fat Black Patrick Swayze in the Twitch says, I feel like everyone is in this thing is getting butt hurt.
I'm sorry. We have to pause to just go back to the name real quick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's one of our Twitch watchers. He's here every week. Fat Black Patrick Swayze.
Fantastic name.
Yeah.
Instantly evokes an image. That's a writer, ladies and gentlemen.
But yeah, he thinks that people are getting butt hurt over mixed messages, and I think that's what it is. I think it's mixed messages.
On the internet, I don't agree with you. Everything on the internet is always fucking clear and stuff. And then someone else asked in chat, like, nothing about Ray Fisher. There was no real. I mean, I guess Ray Fisher announced that he would not be working with any of those. Walter Hamada. After the Walter Hamada article came out, because I believe Walter Hamada was one of the people that he signal him out along with Jeff Johns and stuff like that.
John Berg, yeah.
And John Berg. So he announced that he won't be making any movies over there. That's the news?
He drew a line in the sand, which apparently everybody's respecting. There's not much more news beyond that. I still keep waiting for the specific list of Ray Fisher grievances. You know, like there's a lot of, they know what they did, but nobody else knows what they did. And so I find it just personally, it's beginning to blur into the din of the background without any real specificity offered by either party. So other than we started an investigation and okay.
The biggest question though is if Ray is saying that, does that mean he's not going to be in the Flash movie?
Maybe he was never going to be in the Flash movie. I don't know. You know, like at this point, he's definitely not, because he made a big statement saying that he's not going to do anything else. But I don't know what the plan was for Cyborg in the Flash movie. You know, but who the hell knows? Who the hell knows?
Pan Bunny in chat goes, meanwhile, in the real world, I'm like, oh, we're not there, Pat. This week here, stay away from the real world and stuff. Gonna start paying attention to the real world in about 20 days. But this is, for now, this is our safe space. Real world, unless something just broke while we were doing the show, there's no reason to talk about current events. We're talking about current pop cultural events, ladies and gentlemen.
We are. And the desire for DC to double down on the multiverse, in that there's going to be two different Batman film franchises starring two different Batmen at the same time. Like Robert Pattinson is in the DC Films multiverse, but his Batman does not exist in the DC extended universe. So like his Batman will not cross over with Gal Gadot or
right. That makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying that's the way it should be, but I guess that makes sense. Ben is still Batman in the Snyderverse and the DC EU. And he's Batman, like, you know, Joaquin Phoenix was the Joker in standalones that will never cross over with the others.
Right. So like, you know,
that's fair. I'm not like, you know, fucking upset about that. I'm like, I get it. That's fair.
Yeah. I mean, I get it, because they're trying to, you know, have their cake and eat it too, which is a dumb sentence, because if you have your cake, of course you can eat it, but whatever. But we're going to have an Earth 2 and an Earth 1 and an Earth 3, and we can have as many Earths as we want to make room for all of these different kind of things, and somehow knit it together into a giant story that makes some sense.
You know why? You know why I'm giving you thumbs up? Because do that for a couple of years, and then people are going to be like, we need to bring the multiverse into a universe, and then we get a fucking crisis. Big ass crisis, man. Fucking expensive ass with big explosions and shit like that.
Yeah. I mean, and so they're betting on it. You know, Hamada said audiences are sophisticated enough to understand it. If we make good movies, they'll go with it.
Entree Humane on the chat said TV already made a solid take on the multiverse. They better earn that in movies for it to work. I mean, I don't think, like, I love what they've done on TV, but it wasn't like they slowly did it over time. Like one day on one of the shows, and it was probably fucking Flash, they were like multiverse, and then suddenly that was it. Like, and then they started letting them cross over and shit like that. But it's not like it organically and like, oh my God, it was so well crafted. Like one day they just introduced it on one of the shows, And then another show is like, oh, we can use that so we can cross these shows over and shit like that. The original plan was to never do any of that shit. When they started with Arrow, they were like, we don't want to be Smallville. They were like, no air cannons, no fucking fake metal and shit, just a dude with arrows, like no superhero stuff. And then once Flash was introduced, slowly they kind of, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that. But yeah, I think the movies could pull off multiverse, and I think you could do it in one movie. I think this Flash movie sounds like it's going to establish it. Look, fucking Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse established the multiverse so fucking well for the mainstream consumer that they're fucking tripling down on it. And the new Spider-Man 3 is like fucking set in the multiverse from what we're understanding. So,
right. I mean, the trick is that we've never had to deal with more than one James Bond at a time. You've never had to deal with more than one Doctor Strange at a time. Like, here's the guy who's playing the Thing, and we understand that, and every time we see that character is going to be that person. And so now DC's attempting to get a mainstream audience to understand, oh no, in this one, it's Ben Affleck, but in that one, it's Pattinson. And in this one, the Joker's played by Jared Leto, but in that one, he's played by Joaquin Phoenix. And so just hoping that an audience, to Hamada's, to use his word, sophisticated enough to roll with this in a big way is a gamble. But, fortune favors the bold, I suppose.
I will point out as a stickler that there was at one point 2 James Bonds when Sean Connery was in Never Say Never Again, and
That's
Roger
true.
Moore was in, I don't know, Octopussy or whatever the fuck, Live and Let Die.
Yeah, I think it was Octopussy.
Or maybe A View to a Kill. But there were like 2 of them out at the same time, like, which was mind-bending to my father, because my father loved Sean Connery. So he was like, what? And me, I was like, he was like, we're going to see James Bond. And I'm like, this ain't James Bond. Like, Roger Moore's James Bond. That was my James Bond. All right, we hit all the news. That's all the news.
Just about the last little bit is that as for the Snyder Cut, DC Films told the Times that is a storytelling cul-de-sac, a street that leads nowhere.
Wait,
In other
who told
words,
you this?
DC Films told the New York Times that the HBO Max event, the Snyder Cut, is a storytelling cul-de-sac, a street that leads nowhere. In other words, the Snyder Cut is not part of the DC Films blueprint that's been discussed here.
Just out of curiosity, why would you say that? Why would one feel the need to put that out there before this thing even happens? Because what if it, fucking takes the world by storm in March and people are like, we want fucking more and shit? What, they're saying like, no, there won't be more. Because I happen to know that the ending that he's got for the Snyder Cut is very not a cul-de-sac. It takes it to a weird neighborhood, but it's not a cul-de-sac. You can keep fucking going with the story based on what I've heard from a friend. So
it's weird also, given the fact that most of the actors who were in the mainline DC EU came from that. So you're not going to recast Jason Momoa. You're not going to recast Gal Gadot. There's going to be more Batmen. Who knows? I still I'm uncertain about Ezra Miller going forward, even though Warner Brothers seems, locked and loaded and ready to go with him. So there's always going to be a strain of the Snyderverse because these are the actors who populated it. But whether or not they're going to give Zack more license to make more Justice League movies, I think is the maybe not.
But again, like, why say that now? Like, I would hedge my bets and wait until March and the tale was told, because that way, if the audience, let the audience decide. Like, if the audience is like, we want fucking more, man, then you don't have to go back on what you said. Like, apparently it's not a cul-de-sac. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Unless it was all a well-designed PR ploy to restore the Snyderverse trending, which it was over the weekend in the sort of the post, the halcyon glow of this interview coming out. There was a lot of people who were like, restore the Snyderverse. We want more of this. Like, don't put it in a cul-de-sac. There's a lot more story to tell.
Oh, so wait, it wasn't. So the hashtag was not release the Snyder Cut, it's restore the Snyderverse.
Yep.
I mean, those cats got a lot accomplished with the release the Snyder Cut fucking hashtag. So if I was Warner Brothers, I'd pay attention.
Yeah, unless if this was Warner Brothers' plan the entire time, which was to put out some incendiary piece of information and then stir the pot of fandom and then reap the rewards when the time comes.
Insidious, if that's the case.
Yeah, if they're playing three-dimensional chess like that, power to you.
If they are playing three-dimensional chess like that, that is why, like, I'm stuck where I am in life and no more successful than I am, because I didn't even see that ploy. I was like, all right, you got a list? Do you have your top 10?
I got a list, and it is Let's Top 10 Movies, and it is now the top 12 things I saw on a screen in 2020.
Fair enough.
Because there was not the volume of movies we usually get. The TV we got was great, but also weird in that there was no real fall season the way we normally get it. There are still some things I haven't seen. So I haven't seen One Night in Miami, which is Regina King's.
Is that on Amazon yet?
Not yet. I think it's maybe in a week and a half or so. The 15th it might premiere, but that's the Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and another person whose name I'm forgetting.
Fictional story, but like a what if story.
Right. Well, I mean, I think there was one night where all four of these men were in the same place at the same time.
Oh, so this is like an imagining of that.
Right. Like, we know they were all here. We know that some of them had crossed paths, but what is that one night that they all hung out together? How did that sort of spin forward into the future?
And this is Regina King's directorial debut.
Yeah, based on a play. And so I'm curious to see that. Ma Rainey's Black Bottom I still haven't seen yet. The August Wilson adaptation with Chadwick Boseman's final screen performance. I haven't seen any of Steve McQueen's Small Axe film series on Amazon. He made 5 movies that are all kind of about the British Black experience, starring John Boyega and Letitia Wright and a bunch of other astonishing actors. Haven't seen it because 5 films is like that. You're sitting down and investing. On the bubble, things that didn't quite make the 12. Lovecraft Country. I think it started so incredibly well, but over the course of it, I was less solid with it. But that premiere episode, I think, is still one of the best things I saw all year. And then towards the end of it, it just got blurry to me. And
I loved it. I loved it. I'm surprised that it didn't make your top 10, but that means you must have a very strong top 10.
I hope I do. And then the other thing on the bubble is Soul, which I saw the day after Christmas and liked quite a bit, but it didn't do the thing that I turned to Pixar for, which is break my heart in a way that I didn't quite see it coming. And all of my favorite Pixar movies make me cry in some fashion or another, because they manage to, penetrate to this level of human emotion that, and some of it is because of animation, some of it is because the storytelling is so crystal clear, and the characterizations are so strong that it makes it undeniable. And I didn't cry. And I was like, well, no. If you can't break my heart.
There were definitely some moments where I teared up and whatnot, but there was no, bing bong moment from In and Out. It's not, and that's, not everything has to be some other fucking wonderful movie and stuff. But I loved it. I thought it was incredibly well made, but I too felt like, oh, all right. And then when it ended, I was really surprised because do we want to? I don't want to. I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have to spoil it, but I will say I wanted there to be another scene or two at the end of Soul. That if you're not going to do the premise of the movie, which is here's a guy, jazz musician, who dies, goes to heaven, goes to the limbo between, earth and heaven, and tries to earn his way back to earth because he's got unfinished business. And there's a version of that movie, which not to say we've seen before, but there have been other movies about the go-between, defending your life amongst one of the most famous ones about like, this is a guy who's dead. And the movie's not about him getting his life back. It's about him being okay with being dead and realizing that it's not the end of his story. And there's a version of Soul that is 100% that. But that's not the version you get.
The Felony Chris in chat said the people who lost their purpose made him cry. I thought that was really touching, like the big whoa, 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 whoa things that just like fucking grazed and ran around and shit like that.
Yeah.
Section 8 Zed said Soul is sad for me because I lost a child. Oh my God, that's so sad.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I've spoken to people for whom it's very affecting. But I think
my kid fucking called me at midnight from Dallas and was like, you have to watch. And she was fucking bawling. She's like, you have to watch Soul. So I was going to watch Soul anyway and shit. But like, that kind of review, I'm like, look, she reacts like me to everything. So if she's fucking got a good cry on, I'm going to get a good cry on. And I thought it was wonderful. And definitely there were some moments that made me choke up, but I did not like, it didn't like In and Out was Inside Out.
Kevin Kline. Oh my God.
Yeah, that In and Out, or In and Out that I wish I could be eating. Inside Out destroyed me. And there are a lot of Pixar. What's another really fun? What was one of the
Up broke me. The first 10 minutes of Up are insane.
The first fucking few minutes of Up, you're already like. So yeah, but this was really well done. But yeah, it didn't fucking make me cry. You said something before we started the show about something I didn't know about, the first incarnation.
Yeah, and the co-director and the co-writer on Soul, a guy named Kent Powers, was a somewhat late addition to it. There was a version of Soul that had been going at Pixar, which was, from what I understand, about an animator. And so
it was about an animator.
Yeah. And so all of the representations that you see in the limbo feel very like squiggly lines, very abstract, very draw-y, very painterly, very artistic. And then I think at some point they decided to make a shift. So it was going to be A, about jazz, and B, about the Black experience to a certain degree in America. It's about a Black guy. So maybe, we should bring in a Black guy. And so all of the Earth stuff feels it struck me very much like Spider-Verse in that it's about being Black without being about being Black. Like his life was very much like, I'm going to teach these kids and I'm going to go to the barbershop and I'm going to go to this jazz club. I'm going to go to these historically Black spaces and just that's where the drama will be. And I love that part of it. So it's so weird when it shifts into like the heavenly space. It's like, well, this is just odd and like doesn't feel like a part of the same movie. And Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross are doing the score for a movie about jazz. Like
they did another score recently that was just like them. Mank. They did the score for that, and it doesn't sound anything like he's a musician, he could do a lot of things, but he does. When you hear Trent Reznor, you don't hear the score to Mank in your head, but now that will change. And when you hear Trent Reznor, you don't think of the score to Soul, but that will change as the dude continues to fucking expand his horizons and whatnot. But yeah, I hadn't thought about that aspect of it. I was very delighted to hear my friend Donnell Rawlings, and he was the barber.
Great.
Cut his hair.
He's great.
And it's, anytime like Jason Lee was in a Pixar movie, and I was like, anytime somebody in a Pixar movie, it's just like, oh my God, good for you. Let's fucking get into that world. Get your foot in that fucking door and stuff. Well acted. Jamie Foxx is great. Tina Fey is great. Across the board, the whole cast was great. Coco, that's the movie I was thinking of.
Oh, yes.
So there's Inside Out, but fucking Coco is an insanely high bar in terms of if you're dealing with death.
Mm-hmm.
And in Coco, death was death. Nobody reversed it and shit like that. So, that's
Miguel the Kid does get to go back. He dies to go and talk, and then he gets to cross the bridge and go back home. But and the thing that I wanted from Soul was the thing that you also got from Coco, which was a universal story seen through the very specific cultural lens. Like it's a story about missing people and about wanting people back, but it's told through this lens of Mexican folklore and Day of the Dead and all of that stuff, which is beautiful and gorgeous and lovely.
And for like a bunch of people who are not part of the culture, was new. So
Yeah.
like I'm sitting there watching a movie, you're like, is that what it's like? Like it's not only entertaining, but it's educational.
Yeah, and you get to play in an arena that is both fantastical and wonderful if you're not familiar with it, and completely reverent to it if you are. And so I was hoping that Soul would have had a little bit more of that, where it was, oh, okay, so this is what this experience, this is what heaven looks like to this particular Black jazz musician, and what that means, and how that's culturally reminiscent of what his mother felt about when his father died, about what, all of it, like maybe make it part of the fabric, and it didn't, which I was a little disappointed by. All of which is to say, it's still like solid upper middle tier Pixar. Like it's not misfire in any way, because it's gorgeous and
And if you
funny,
got Disney Plus, it's free as fuck.
and it's free as fuck.
They didn't Mulan this shit, where they're like, Char, give us a little more. They just put it up there for nothing.
Just put it up there. So those were the two that sort of just missed out making it in there.
I'm not surprised about Soul, but I am surprised that Lovecraft didn't make it into the top 10. But your reasons are valid, and I'm not shaming. I was just like, wow, that was definitely, if I had a 10, that'd be in mine. All right, let's hear your 10. Starting from 10, working down to 1.
Yeah, let's do 12. We're doing 12. Just because I found it hard. Number 12 is a game for the PlayStation 4 called Ghosts of Tsushima, which was a samurai kind of open world thing, but it's about a guy who's trying to live up to his uncle's vision for what his future should be, who discovers a different path in life. And it is gorgeous. I mean, it's all feudal Japan, and it's all like, lilies and grassy fields and beautifully rendered armor. And the story is elemental, and it's simple, and it was one of the more fun experiences I had, matching of fucking buttons this year on a video game console. Number 11 is the West Wing did a live reading of an older episode called Hartsfield Landing, and it was basically staged as a fundraiser for the Biden campaign. And my love for the West Wing goes deep. I've talked about it here a bunch of times, I'm sure. But to just see that cast get together again, and to see them do that thing that they do, it was part of the unifying theme of this list this year, is things that made me feel good at a time when I was searching for things to make me feel good. And so that is very much checking of that box. Number 10, The Five Bloods, Spike Lee's Netflix movie, starring Delroy Lindo.
Sorry, I muted myself. I still haven't seen it. How good is it?
It's really, really good. It's really, really good. I mean, it's very Spike, and so there's moments where you're like, oh yeah, this is a Spike Lee movie. Here's where your protagonist is on a dolly being pulled through a scene, and here's a lot of mixed media sort of documentary kind of teaching storytelling, but it's incredibly effective, and Spike does a lot with a little, because you could tell that he had like a $50 million budget, and he's got to somehow recreate the Vietnam War, and he does so. And it's also about fathers and sons, co-starring Jonathan Majors, the lead of Love. This is the first place I saw him.
Oh, really? He's the star?
He's the one of the co-stars. He's, if I remember correctly, he's Delroy Lindo's son. And Delroy Lindo's great, like, classic fucking Spike Lee actor, titan of American stage and screen. So to watch him just stretch out and lean in to play a black dude wearing a MAGA hat and have compelling reasons why, is kind of fun. So number 9, High Fidelity, which was the Zoe Kravitz reboot refresh of, the now twice before told story.
But more of the Nick Hornsby book, right? They lean more toward the book than the movie.
Yeah, they lean back towards it, but you still get these moments, that are evocative of moments you remember from both the book and the movie, but sort of subverted in ways to make it enjoyable if you're familiar, intimately so, with both of them. And, this was the first time I'd really seen Zoe Kravitz. And it was like, oh no, now I get it. Like, now I understand. She had always been, fine, but I'd never seen her get to stretch really. And I was never what was the Big Little Lies? I never watched that, so I was never like that person. So this was my first time going, oh shit, yeah, I get it.
She's very good in it, but that's like a big ensemble. She's like one of many in that. It seems like with High Fidelity, she's the star. She got to shine.
Yeah, she got to shine. So I was sad that we didn't get to see more of that.
Yeah, they canceled that, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did, because Hulu. I think that was part of those things where it was owned by another studio, and Hulu then got bought by Disney, and some things just didn't make it through the transfer. I think that was one of them. Number 8 is Hamilton, which was on the Disney Plus.
I still haven't. I mean, I saw Hamilton on Broadway, but I still haven't watched the Disney Plus version. Now, did you ever see the show, or you just listen to the soundtrack?
I listened to the soundtrack much more than I saw the show. I did see it twice in LA, but I never saw the original cast. And so
the cast is Daveed Diggs in it.
Daveed Diggs is in it. Lin-Manuel is in it. Leslie Odom Jr. is in it. Like it was, I think, in the last month or so before the original cast began to dissipate, they captured this. And so to get to see it with that cast and to get to see it in a production and in a manner that brings you inside that show in a way that you couldn't see in Broadway, I thought it was incredibly well done. And that's the only reason why it kind of slides through the technicality of, no, the play was in whatever, like 2016, but this was the only time you could see it with these people this year. So that makes it in there. Number 7 was The Mandalorian. I remember feeling underwhelmed by the beginning of the season, and my whelmingness began to increase as the season went on, to the point where the last 3 episodes are just fantastic. And I guess that's just the pattern this show is going to go. It's going to start kind of small and then build itself up, and then crescendo, and then the season will start again and then build itself up to crescendo. And so by the time you got to the end of The Mandalorian season 2, it was magical. I just wish it was magical throughout, which is the only reason it's halfway through my top 12.
Still makes the top 12.
Still makes the top 12. Number 6 is The Boys season 2.
It was wonderful this year.
So great. So great.
I got to interview him on the IMDb boat, probably for The Boys. I think it was for The Boys before it aired. And he's a real good dude, man. Funny dude, but also like really dialed into story and shit. And that show, I mean, didn't fucking Barack Obama list that as one of the shows that he loved this year?
I love the idea of Barack Obama watching Homelander masturbate on the city.
I'm sure he was like, why didn't I try that? Fuck, man. Get on the top of the fucking White House. It is.
Michelle, I'm going to be right back. I'm going to take the stairs. I'm going to go to the roof, and I'm going to masturbate on the rose garden.
Mark Bernardin's Barack Obama, ladies and gentlemen. Not bad. He waited until season 6 to debut the character. Good heavens. That delighted me no end when I saw that show on his list. I was like, that's a human being with class and taste. Because he don't have to include that. He don't have to fucking be like, yeah, I watched The Boys. He fucking owned up to it. He was like, yeah, I watched The Boys. Just fucking
hell yeah. And yeah, I didn't know, because I had stopped reading the book by the time they introduced Stormfront, so I didn't know where that was going. But it was one of those, and much like Lovecraft, to his credit, this piece of content that could not have known it was going to be as relevant as it was when it was hitting the audience.
Yes, very much so. And like Watchmen as well, like Watchmen, Lovecraft, and this. I remember watching them and being like, wait, did they just shoot this last week? How do you fucking get this current? Those are magical fucking writers' rooms right there.
Very much so.
Or maybe it's just that sadly, the same problems from the past are the same problems in the present. So they're not magicians. They're like, What do you mean? It never went away. We're just putting it on fucking wax.
We
So you
just
can
paid
see it.
attention.
Yes. We put a fucking lens on it.
So yeah, that's number 6. Number 5 was The Last Dance, which was the documentary, 10-part documentary by ESPN Films about the Chicago Bulls
Basketball thing.
basketball thing, about their
I remember
quest
this was during the beginning of the quarantine. And
Yeah.
I was like, thank God for this. It was all
I think it was like June. It was like May or June. But it is a bit like another entry on this list, not about the sport that it's about as much as it is about the people who play that sport and the weird psychological profile of Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman and these outlandish personalities, all of which are driven, all of which are in some ways megalomaniacal for success and how that manifests in these people. I found it amazing. And
how long is it?
10 parts. So it's 10 hours long. Yeah.
Now, once you said that it's more about the people, but for somebody who like has no familiarity with basketball, other than I used to videotape the basketball games in high school, is 10 hours time. Would someone like myself who doesn't give a fuck about hoops be into it?
They do the very good job that a good documentary about a specific item subject does of contextualizing it all for you by using people you may or may not recognize. And my favorite credit, Chiron, for an interview subject is Barack Obama, former Chicago resident.
That's fun.
And so like talking about like using those people to help explain like what the Bulls meant when they were making this run. And then also using lots of footage to talk about who Michael Jordan was and his story. And some of it, yes, there's a ton of basketball game footage, but they do a decent enough job of explaining to you what the stakes are in any one of those games. And the soundtrack is fucking nuts. They had all the money, they had Disney money. And so when you get to have Prince's Party Man as part of the soundtrack for a Michael Jordan sports documentary, it's kind of amazing.
They took it from a Batman film?
Yep. They paid Warner Brothers to take part of a Batman soundtrack and use it for their basketball thing and didn't care.
All right. It's called The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. That's number 5. Number 4, we talked about it on the show, The Speed Cubers. That lovely little documentary, 45 minutes long, about Rubik.
So short, kids. Like even if you're like, I don't like documentaries, this fucking thing will make your heart soar. It was such a great find. I co-signed this with Mark. And again, like it's not that like, oh, it's short, so it's good, but like they got a lot fucking done in 45 minutes. It's so much so that it feels complete. You don't feel like, wow, they should have went into it more, or this should be a series. No, it was absolutely fucking perfect. And a story that you've never seen before, and incredibly human, wonderfully warm human story that was also competitive. So there's a like quasi sports background to it or thread going through because they are in competition. Mm-hmm. But how these completely different people from completely different parts of the world find each other through fucking Rubik's Cube, man. It was absolutely wonderful. But 45 minutes, that's it. It's not even like 10 episodes of 45 minutes. 45 fucking minutes and you're out. Give it a shot, kids. I just watched this morning. I got up at like 4 a.m. and I couldn't sleep and I didn't want to start writing yet because I knew I wanted to go back to bed. So I grabbed a smoke and I was just reading the news, and I don't know why, but in my news feed, they put up biography, put up a documentary about the Hines family, the
Gregory
people.
Oh, I was like, tap dancing?
No, yeah, Gregory Hines and his brother. It was about the Hines, ketchup, Heinz 57. Fucking fascinating. 45 minutes. And I'm like, who knew? Like this deep dive history into condiments. But 2 things I walked away with. Number 1, the guy Heinz, like, he was like a marketer before there was marketing. So he saw an ad, is before the turn of the century, for like, ladies' shoes in 22 styles. and he liked that it was the number was memorable and that it implied that there was a lot and shit. So he sent a telegram and he was just like, put on every bottle from now on 57 varieties because it'll indicate how many different products we make. And they were like, we make more than 57. We make over 60 at this point. And he goes, just put 57 because it's a memorable number and it lodges in people's heads. And so they marketed on this number that he just picked that wasn't even accurate. And it became, for a long time, the nickname, the moniker. Most people didn't call it ketchup. They called it Heinz 57 and shit. And then the other thing I found fucking fascinating. Well, one side note, anyone who gets rich, apparently they ignore the fuck out of their kids. Because this whole thing was about how this guy was a billionaire and he was amazing with his staff. He built the fucking people who worked in his factory a swimming pool, a rooftop garden to hang out in, and a huge fucking cafeteria where they had live music playing whenever they ate every day and shit. So he was like way ahead of the curve in terms of taking care of employees. And he was like affable and they could all talk to him and shit like that. But with his own kids, he was all cold and distant and shit. And each one of the kids then goes on to like run the company when the previous cat dies and shit. So ketchup, this story of ketchup blew my fucking mind. In England, they had this shit called catsup. You know, we've seen it spelled two different ways. And hey, I'm telling the fucking Heinz story. And he's over there and he tries this catsup and it's a spicy paste, but it's made with fish. Catsup was originally made with fucking fish. Checky, I'm blown away by it too. And so he enjoyed it, but he was like, what if we made it out of tomatoes instead of fish? And that's where fucking ketchup came from. Like this dude built $1 billion fortune on fucking like, because he was a gardener. His mom made all the kids spend time with her in the garden for like 6-7 hours a day, planting and fucking pulling shit. And he was the only one in the family that actually like kept hanging out in the garden. Even after like when mom was like, we're done, he was still doing it shit. So he built his empire literally growing vegetables and then fucking putting them in a cart and driving around and fucking selling them like a fucking farmer's market, this guy. Then he starts like, oh, maybe we could put shit in a bottle. And the bottles are clear so you could see inside because other people would make other things and put them in different like solid colored jars so you couldn't see how fucked up and not pure they were. This guy was all about purity, even before Upton Sinclair wrote the book and shit like that. So before he went after like the industrialized factory. This was at a time when, obviously it was fucking fascinating. I'm still talking about it. This was at a time when the country didn't like trust food that they didn't make either. So like the notion of what? Like fucking eat beans that I didn't make myself? What are you, crazy? They were made in a factory thousands of miles away. And the Heinz company is responsible for like the way we eat. People going like, oh, I guess I can eat something that somebody else made very far away and shit like that. It was fucking fascinating. I'd watch a whole fucking series about this Heinz family and shit like that. All from like a dude just going like, let's try this. They said at one point he had a notebook like Colonel Sanders with like all, you know, fucking formulas and shit. And he would do anything. He would take any vegetable or fruit and stick a something in it. So he had like stuffed mangoes and shit at the turn of the century. Like now you'd be like, that makes sense. Anyway, enough sucking Heinz dick.
57 varieties of that dick.
Yeah, very tasty. It's like fish paste. All right, back to you. So yes, Cubers. What was it called?
Speed Cubers.
Speed Cubers. Excellent fucking worth a watch.
Absolutely. Number 3 is the Old Guard, which we also talked about on the show. We had Greg Rucka on to talk about.
Oh, the one with Charlize.
Yes.
Wow, that got that high on your list?
That got that high on my list because there's a version of that movie that is very rote and very kind of like, oh, I know what it is. It's about, you know, immortal assassins doing cool shit. But there's a level of melancholy to this movie, a level of of kind of groundedness. A lot of it is brought by Charlize Theron, who plays it very close to the vest. A lot of it is by Gina Prince Bythewood, who directed it, who like brought this sense of just empathy to it. Um, and the action is also pretty fucking stellar. But I was just in love with this movie and in love with what this movie kind of represented, which was, you know, the Highlander reboot that I didn't know that I wanted, but I finally got and was just thrilled by.
I enjoyed it. I don't know that it would have made my top 10. That's interesting, let alone my top 5. That's high honors.
I honest. Number two,
Yes.
number two, The Last of Us Part Two, the video game from the PlayStation for the PS4.
You've talked about this on the show, and then you got people attacked you and shit.
I got people attacking me for liking this game, and so I will happily engender such attacks.
That is it's a cool graphic right there. Who is she hiding from, Mark?
She is hiding, if I remember correctly, she's hiding from there's a religious kind of lifestyle sect who lives on this island. It's all kind of set on Southern California ish. There's a lot of travel across the country, but these people who live on an island who have basically returned to like sort of monastic ways where they're very much in harmony with nature, but have no patience for outsiders. And so she's being hunted by this particular cult who, you know, use fire and smoke and arrows and all kinds of awful shit to kill people. But the thing that this game does that I haven't seen in a game before is it makes you culpable for your actions. It makes you a participant in a certain level of atrocity that I've never seen a game do. And so by the time you get to the end of it, you feel as empty and as wounded as your main characters do.
Sounds fucking fun, man. Oh my God. Let's play that.
This was like the blues version of feeling good, where it's like, oh no, this is going to make me feel so much worse. And maybe because I don't feel as bad as this game makes me feel, that somehow makes me feel better. It's like, how bleak can you bleak? Oh, we bleaked the fuck out of this bleak. But yeah, no, I loved it to death. I haven't played it again, but I'm thinking about it because I just have to prepare myself.
Question: if you play it again, will it be different?
It'll be different in that they call it, I think it's like the new game plus mode, because part of the game is all about, you know, accruing weapons and skills and all of that stuff. So by the time you get to the end of the game, you're a fucking superhero. When you play it again, you have all of that shit. So you are no longer, you know, as challenged to a certain degree by the frustrating parts of the game. And then you can kind of take in the new parts. It's a bit like watching the Twilight Zone again, where you're not going to pay attention to all of these things that had just been in the background on your first playthrough. You're like, oh, that was there, and they set up that character all the way back here, and that character you saw over here was actually the same character over here, and it becomes, you know, it rewards multiple viewing in the way that I'm going to assume Tenet does, but I don't know if I'll ever watch Tenet again. Maybe I will. I don't know. I could like break a leg or something and run out of shit.
There, you know what's going to happen? A few years will go by, and you'll completely forget, and you'll be like, I should give that another spin.
Yeah.
And then you'll be like, nope, tricked again.
Fool me once. And then the number one on my list, which we've already talked about today, and which is a diametric opposite to Last of Us Part 2, but Ted Lasso. I have not felt as good as I did watching Ted Lasso, to the point where I watched it again. I've now seen this entire season twice.
Did you? I honestly, I felt like when we finished it, I was like, oh, this is a good go to bed series because you can watch it, laugh, and fall asleep while watching it because you know the story already and stuff. Mm-hmm. I was thinking about making it a go-to or doing another spin because it is really funny, really quick, warm relationships. I don't know, maybe it's like the older I get, this is all I care about, but I just like the world, people hate each other so fucking much. This country's so divided. The world is fucking divided. I just want to see people who like each other. Like, and if they don't like each other, I want to see them slowly come to like each other. Like that, that's rewarding for me. Like, you know, The Last of Us sounds very depressing. Ted Lasso sounds like, and is, you know, it's the way life could and should be. Some funny shit happens. and everybody kind of tries to get along and grow and learn and stuff like that. I absolutely loved it. I'd co-sign it being way up there on the list. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me the same feeling that I got, especially in the middle of Schitt's Creek, which is, to your point, this is just the way the world could be. This is just how we could treat each other. You know, like we don't have to have excuses or reasons why people are the way they are. We can just show them learn and grow and get in touch with the parts of themselves that they've kind of kept at bay for a little too long. And build those bonds of fellowship that will help you sustain the bad times and enjoy the good times. So Ted Lasso.
8-Man just corrected me. He says, nah, homie, America is divided. All good here in the EU. I mean, isn't Brexit happening right now?
Yeah.
So.
And also COVID. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yes.
Nothing is all good anywhere.
No,
Bro.
I guess, and to be fair, I guess it never was. But
Yeah.
still. There is a little bit of consternation in the chat. Not a lot, but some like, what? That's your number one? But if you haven't seen it, you don't know. Somebody described it. Let me find it. It was perfectly put. It said it was a warm hug of a show. Fuck. Where is it? I mean, I think that was more or less the line.
Yeah.
But wait a second. Weren't you the one that told me to watch Queen's Gambit?
I did tell you to watch Queen's Gambit. And I like Queen's Gambit, but I at the end of the day, the beginning of Queen's Gambit for me was stronger than the ending of Queen's Gambit. I still appreciate it, and like it
didn't make your top 10.
It just didn't make the cut. I mean, it probably should have been listed on the bubble because I do like it quite a bit. What almost also made the list was that shot of Ben wearing a Boston t-shirt, juggling a bunch of Dunkin' Donuts. Did you see that? Oh, it's great. It's the most Boston thing ever. Like literally, he's got one of those fucking trays of like iced coffee and a bunch of munchkins, and he's wearing like a Boston Strong t-shirt on, and it's just him going, ah!
Is he in Boston?
I don't think so. I think he's just fucking here in LA. But it's the perfect counterpoint to Casey's SNL bit.
That sketch is one of my favorite sketches in the world. How they all call it donkeys and shit. All the people are always like donkeys. I grew up in New Jersey. We had Dunkin' Donuts my whole life. Never heard one person call it fucking donkeys. That's a very much a Massachusetts thing. If I remember correctly, it's a Massachusetts company, right?
I think so, yeah. But that he's smoking outside. He's like, I'm not in the place. Dude.
He's got his
hand out. It's outside.
He's like, I'm not smoking in here. It fucking that's not only is that like a,
oh yeah, there it is.
Oh, there it is.
He found it. I'll put it back up for the big man.
You can take the boy out of Boston. You can't take the Boston out of the boy, man. Look at him with his Dunkin' Donuts. Some people, I don't drink coffee at all, so I got no allegiance or loyalty, but East Coasters, some of them fucking swear by that, the Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
I remember when they first came out in LA, there was a line for hours to go to Santa Monica to take advantage of Dunkin' Donuts. And we went because we were recent transplants and my wife was feeling homesick. She's like, I want some Dunkin' Donuts iced tea. I'm like, it's just fucking iced tea. She's like, nah, not unless it's in the D&D cup.
Iced tea, they have a specific flavor?
Well, just, yeah,
it's
less about it's more about the like, I miss home.
Little piece of home.
Little piece of home.
Where'd she go? Do you remember? This is deep diving, but she go to Middletown, north or south?
I think she went to south.
There's Dunkin' Donuts nearby.
Yeah. I mean, there always is. And now she's gonna listen to this. I went to North, you idiot. You've known me for what, 25 years? You know what high school I went to? No.
Throw a rock in Jersey, you'll hit a Dunkin' fucking Donuts. There was a list, ladies and gentlemen, and Mark provided it for you. Give it up for Mark Bernard. He told you his 12 favorite things he looked at on a screen. Notice he didn't include pornography in that list, and I guarantee you he looked at some of that on screen, but whatever.
Yeah, no, we don't have enough numbers for that.
All right, JC, step up. The birthday boy himself. Are people dropping dimes in the birthday fund, Captain?
They are. People are very generous for my 40th birthday.
Have they been? That is
They
so
have
awesome.
been. It's been
Anyone
really
you wanna-
touching.
Any specifics that you want to shout out, larger than others? Not to
I
shine light on other, at the expense of others, but for those that did put in a big tip, why not?
One of the ones I saw was Shannon White, Jamie Cattier's husband, put in $138, which I like because it's like 1138 Star Wars.
Well done.
So that one stuck out. A lot of people coming in with $20, $25. A lot of people who I've seen in chat for the last 10 months, which has been cool because like this has been without Scum and Villainy to hang out at. Like this has been my geeky outlet with all these people. They've been like they're like my new regulars.
It's
on
true.
YouTube.
That's true. It's the closest
It's really cool.
going back to bar life, I guess, that you've had.
Mark Nicholson threw in $100. Nicole Lucarelli threw in $50. Jay Boogie 1966 threw in $100.
So
Scrapzilla $50.
You people are kind, man. They're good looking out.
Witchy
our boy.
Blurred, who's always in that booth with Jamie, is threw in $50. JP Doer.
If you're just jumping in now, kids, it's JC's birthday. He turned 40, for heaven's sakes. So JC was intending for his 40th birthday to do the Star Wars location tour around the world, but he don't get to do that because nobody gets to go nowhere anymore and shit. So we put up a link for the birthday pot, man. Everybody put in a couple bucks and whatnot. If you appreciate this show, it means you appreciate JC and stuff. And it's his birthday, so we're trying to raise a little loot, man. Links right down below. Feel free to click on it. JC, what questions we got? Someone said, Bo H says, where can we donate?
I just dropped the link in chat.
Beautiful. Scotty Arms in chat said Wawa over Dunkin'. Well, fuck yeah. For some things, not for like donuts. Like fucking Dunkin's got it for donuts and shit, but Wawa for pretzels, which Dunkin' doesn't have. I still fucking think about Wawa pretzels and shit. And then I was traveling cross country for the Reboot Roadshow tour last year, and they got, Wawa is pretty much East Coast and very much a Pennsylvania company. But I saw some Wawas on the road where I'm like, oh shit, they're fucking expanding. And they look exactly like the Wawas. And I went in looking for the pretzels, and they're like,
we don't do that here.
They don't do that. That's a Pennsylvania fucking thing, man. That was a bummer. But yeah, Wawa for pretzels.
7-Eleven kid.
All right, JC, what do we got?
We didn't have Wawas in New York.
You didn't have a what? Say again?
We didn't have Wawas in New York, so I was a 7-Eleven kid. But
I was
7-Eleven didn't have nothing.
I was Cumberland Farms. We didn't get a Wawa until like later in life. And we didn't have a 7-Eleven in Highlands. There were 7-Elevens, but not near us, man.
You're going to go up 36 for that.
That's right. You're a New York kid. You're a city kid.
Yeah, baby.
So wait, but you didn't even need convenience stores. Did you have bodegas back then?
When I was a kid in the Bronx, we had bodegas, and we moved out when I was like 12 to Long Island, which then that's where you get your Friendlies and your Wawas and your
convenience stores,
7-Elevens and your dairy farms and that kind of shit. But I do have a love for a bodega because you got to buy that 12-year-old fucking saran wrap that's on there at 2 o'clock in the morning for reasons. Thanks, Bodega Life.
Bodega Life. There's your next t-shirt. How goes the t-shirt? Plug the t-shirt.
Yeah, the t-shirt sales are going really well. The good folks at Embattled Clothing, EMBATTLED clothing.com, have put out a second t-shirt with my little seal of approval on it. Be humble, but let motherfuckers know. So yeah, go to that website, and if you use the code MARK15, you'll save 15% off your first order. But I've seen lots of pictures on the socials of people happily brandishing their Be Humble gear.
That's why I brought it up, because I did see a few tweets of people wearing the fucking shirt and whatnot. I was like, I know that guy. I know that clothier. We just lost Pierre Cardin, which is sad, but Mark Bernardin's ready to step up and take over.
I can slide into the kind of French name, clothing guy.
Exactly. What does Bernardin mean in French?
It is actually, from what I can tell, an Italian name. Bernardini was an Italian name of probably a tradesman or a whatever who made his way from Italy to France. And then, if I had to guess, slavery happens. And so then the French sort of merchant or whatever goes to Haiti, then Saint Domingue, and sets up shop and buys some slaves and renames them with his last name, which is Bernardin. And that's where my father's from. My father's side of the family is all from Haiti. So I think that's the etymology and the route of the name to my driver's license.
I think to my driver's license. I think a few years ago, I sent you a picture of a restaurant called Bernardin.
Yes, Le Bernardin.
I was blown away. I was like, I know that guy.
They didn't know me. I went to that restaurant. I'm like, I'm here. Where's my table?
Did you go to the restaurant?
I did.
Did you pull out the credit card and be like, wow.
I thought there was going to be a whole fucking thing, right? Like, he's here. He's here. Leopold. No.
Leopold. Oh, that's a deep cuts pull. That just put me, I'm watching Channel 5 and seeing that fucking Bugs Bunny repeat for the zillionth time. Yes. Where's the shirt again? Tell them where to get the shirt.
Embattledclothing.com, or if you go to my Twitter or to my Instagram, they're both in the sort of about me, the profile sections, or links to that storefront.
For me, if you want to financially send things my way, you can join that Kevin Smith Club, ladies and gentlemen. ThatKevinSmithClub.com. I just spent the holiday digging up a bunch of new videos that we're going to put in the Smithsonian screening room, which is becoming an archive of like everything. I know. Thank you. I was very happy with that name. But there's some cool old shit in there and whatnot. And I found this amazing. I think I've talked about it before. Like after we did Zach and Miri and they were putting the DVD together, like Seth sat for this interview, Seth Rogen, and did this amazing fucking story about the guy who I don't want to trigger anybody, but it's a name that's the associated with like everything wrong. So just wait for it. Here we go. Trigger warning. Harvey Weinstein. So this is before anybody knew all that stuff. Seth tells this story of interacting with him, and he does it with Evan Goldberg, but Evan's not on camera. Seth is on camera portraying himself on a phone call, and Evan is off camera portraying Harvey Weinstein, and it's really really funny. So I'm going to throw that up there and stuff like that. I found a bunch of cool stuff. So if you're into that, if you're into Plus One, the podcast I do with my wife and education and stuff like that, ThatKevinSmithClub.com. All right, JC.
I've seen that Seth Rogen video like 10 years ago when we started working together, and it's worth it.
It's so phenomenal. And I just hear, we could talk about it here. Like, it has literally nothing to do with anything that we now think of when we think of Harvey Weinstein.
No, and it doesn't paint him in a good light either.
It really doesn't. Like Seth shits on him. Seth and Evan really shit on him hardcore. But I vacillate on sharing it by virtue of the fact that I don't want people being like, this isn't fucking funny. Harvey Weinstein was a monster, and which, I fucking agree with. But at the same time, this doesn't make him look more monstrous, but it does make him look, bad. It's not like it paints him in a good light. And it's legit funny. I just don't know if how many years was it before people could joke about the Vietnam War? Or how many years was it before people could joke about things that are harrowing and stuff like that? And even though there's nothing in this that jokes about that just hearing people talk about the guy could trigger people. So I get like, kind of, I don't know, maybe I shouldn't put it up, but it's funny and innocent in its weird way and stuff, but it's also just lethal because they fucking roast the guy straight to hell and stuff. But what are your do you, in your memory of it, is that okay to share, you think?
I think so. I don't, it doesn't delve into his horribleness, but it does not paint him in a good way, in any way, shape, or form. And it's definitely, Seth is pretty brutal towards him.
Alex Ray Papa Palpatine in chat goes, we could joke about Vietnam now. I guess like, well, I mean, you know, I don't mean like we all sit around and fucking like mock it and shit, but they've done, you know, comedies about it and shit, haven't they? Am I crazy?
Tropic Thunder.
Was that set in the Vietnam War?
No, they were making a Vietnam movie.
Right.
But yeah.
All right. JC, give us some questions.
Okay. Oh, a couple.
Anthony Gonzalez just said in chat, the Big Sick had a 9/11 joke. It worked. Yeah, I mean, but it's just some people like you just I just want to make people feel good in this life. I don't want to fucking like trigger anybody and shit. But
I think if you put a trigger warning up with it, so people who are very sensitive don't watch it. But if you don't like that guy and you watch it, you will be happy to see them talking about that guy in that way.
Yeah, you'll feel very validated.
Yeah,
this is, you know, I'm not like it's kicking a guy while he's down, but it's just like, to be fair, Seth like smelled bullshit. He didn't smell the fucking real shit, the horrible shit that Harvey did, but he like instantly was kind of like, this guy, something wrong with this guy. So, and that's kind of reflected in the video. All right, here we go.
Okay, just so it's on the record, I looked it up. I had 145 hours of fasting. So there's your goal.
Good luck, buddy.
All right, so if I look at my thing right now, I mean, this is not fucking on topic, but still.
10 more hours, right?
If I'm looking, I'm at 117. I'm about to be at 118 hours. So how many more hours to get to 145?
27.
Oh man, it's like another whole fucking day, or longer than another whole fucking day.
Yeah, it's about 2 sleeps.
All right.
We also had some.
I'm within fucking shooting distance. What do they call it? Fucking striking distance. Bruce Willis film. I've got to be able to fucking go there. I mean, right now the app tells me I'm in deep ketosis, man. They're like, oh shit, you're all about the autophagy and whatnot. It's a pretty sweet app, but I use it for this part just because it keeps the, you know, fucking, it tells you how long you've been doing it and shit. But all right, so that means, God damn it, that means another fucking whole day to catch JC's record.
I also, when I came off of it, it was the day before Thanksgiving in 2019. So I came off and then I ate and ate and ate.
Well, honestly, they say, like, a lot of videos I've watched and a lot of things I've read online from like doctors and physicians and people that practice fasting was like, after the fast, you know, naturally you got to ease into it and whatnot because your body hasn't consumed solids in like a certain amount of time. But, you know, as you pull out of the fast by day 2 or by day 3, naturally the body craves, I don't know what you crave, but the body tends to crave oils and fats because you've given up a lot of that and stuff. And in the reports I've read, you can eat a bunch and it's not like you're instantly going to gain it all because your body is now functioning in a place.
Yeah,
it can do stuff with it and stuff. Anyway, enough about that.
We had one guy in the chat shout out that the AEW wrestler Brody Lee passed away. That was his wrestling name, taken from Brody and Jason Lee.
Yeah, he's a friend of Chris Jericho's. I hit up, you know, I'm friends with Chris Jericho, and I texted him when I saw he passed away. And I was like, were you guys close? And he said, I brought him into AEW. I've known him for years. He was such a lovely guy. He was just at my house. And yeah, he was a big fan of Mallrats. So he pulled his name, Brody Lee, from Brody and the character and Jason Lee. And he passed away from, not from COVID, but from some lung related thing, but very young too, right? He was only like 41 or something like that. Yeah,
I don't have his age, but I know he was very young, and I saw a lot of nerd love for him on the internet over the past few days.
Me too, and my Twitter feed all week and stuff. Well, our hearts go out to his family and his fans and people he left behind.
Also,
Juku Spider-Man says, wait, what was the starvation app? It's not a starvation app. It's called Zero. It's basically just a clock. It's a timer. It's not a starvation app.
Cat's eye shit right there. Like, I want the non-smoking app. Oh, that's easy.
Murray Nathan said Soul, if Timothy Leary made a Pixar movie. Just to rub it in, Devil Dog 2600 HZ said, I had 2 bowls of beef stew while watching. Rated MIK said, I once went a whole month without eating. I mean, that's possible. There are people that actually go to programs where they spend a month not eating. As long as you're drinking water, it's not like you're not consuming anything. But if you have a body mass index that indicates that your body can live off of itself for a long time, I guess that's possible. But I would have to be like really preoccupied, because it's not the hunger that gets you, it's the fucking boredom, man. And that's what I learn every time I do a fast. I'm like, I don't really eat when I'm hungry. I eat to pass time. I eat as entertainment. And that's something that I really like to break with and stuff, and have been able to, and then fell into a mindset of like, eating fucking food and watching movies is wonderful. And it is, but like, so is, fucking, I guess, doing heroin, because a lot of people do it and it's bad, so is at one point smoking cigarettes used to rock. And then one day, you were like, this is bad for you. So all the good shit. I mean, all things in moderation, I guess. Somebody smart once said something like that.
Yes. And everything that tastes good is bad for you.
Oh, it's why, God damn it. It's not fair. All right, man.
Okay. Star Saber 666. If you guys, and we had a lot of Cobra Kai questions, but since Mark hasn't seen it, this is the kind of the, I would say, the compromise here. If you had to start a karate dojo, what would you call it, and who would be your sensei and champion from any pop culture? Right? So,
Ooh.
like, you could call it the Rat Dojo and pick Master Splinter, and have, the guy from, I don't know, as your champion. So there's the first question.
I like it. So I got to pick a character who knows a lot about martial arts, and I get to name the dojo, and then I get to pick
the sensei.
The sensei?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, let me see. I'm tempted to go Shang-Chi because, Master of Kung Fu is coming up. Well, I'm going to go deep cuts. Well, it maybe not be deep cuts, but it's not the most obvious character. In DC Comics, they've got, you know what? Fuck that. I was going to pick Lady Shiva. Fucking Batman. It's the dojo of the Bat Dojo, and Bruce Wayne is my fucking sensei. I can't believe I had to think about that.
It was a long road to get there.
It really was, man. I had to take the fucking Lady Shiva Parkway to get to fucking Batman. But yes, Bruce Wayne. He can fucking disarm somebody 160 different ways from his standing position. He could fucking take a life if he wanted to by 480 different ways. Like, come on. Fucking nuts. Yeah, him for sure.
That's your sensei. It's the Bat Dojo. Yeah. Okay. My sensei is Neo from The Matrix. The dojo is called The Last Dragon.
Neo, that's a good pull. Why didn't you go with Morpheus, though? He taught Neo.
Yeah, but Neo's better than Morpheus.
You know what? It's a hot take, and you're saying it 26 years after the movie, but I'm glad you said it.
Neo's better than Morpheus.
Somebody, particularly in the second one, let's be honest.
True.
But the first one, Morpheus is it on a stick, man.
Hello, Zion. Are we ready to party? And then my main character is Bruce Leroy. Bruce Leroy is learning from Neo.
Who is Bruce Leroy?
From The Last Dragon.
Holy shit. You went with, yes, my God. Fucking, let me see the rhythm of the night. Into the morning light. Get a little DeBarge going.
Hell yeah.
Wow. That is a deep cuts and good pull.
Show up. Who's the master?
Showing up.
Show up.
That was a good question. That led us to some decent answers. Although my answer was pretty basic, but fucking, you asked me for a fighter, fucking Batman. What a great dojo too, because you're in the cave.
That's cool. You had to take the Shiva jug handle to get to the Bruce Wayne Expressway.
I did. There was the Shiva turnoff. Exit 117 got me to Bruce. I got off at exit 117, and then I had to go back on the turnpike to get up to Gotham City. Like,
yes.
But it was worth the trip.
I'll finish. I'll round mine off where my master would be Splinter and my champion would be Hong Kong Phooey.
Ooh, good pull. Matthew Cox said, Mojo Jojo presents Mojo Jojo's Dojo of Mojo. Fantastic.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Nice wordplay.
Yes. Mojo Jojo. I used to watch that show all the time with my kid. I haven't seen the new incarnation. Anybody?
Yeah, I don't even know where to find it.
That's the thing, man. We live in a world now where you're like there's a fucking, like, I didn't know where, whatchamacallit, One Night in Miami was. There's another movie too. Oh, the movie with Carey Mulligan in it.
Not perfect.
Something about, like
Perfect Woman.
I forget the title, but I want to say Ordinary Decent Criminal, but that's not it. It's but it's where she fucking takes revenge against a bunch of dudes and stuff. But I didn't know where that was either. But I don't think it's out yet.
Yeah, you'd think there would be an app.
Promising young woman.
There it is.
Okay.
Next question.
Go. Number 2.
Okay. Let's do this one. It's kind of wacky.
Casey, somebody said they can't find a place to donate.
Let me drop. I can drop
Jason,
it in chat.
birthday, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to wish him a happy birthday, or if you like this show, show him that you love him and the show by dropping a few ducats in his buckets for his birthday. 40 years old. He survived 40 fucking years.
I do not believe it. You know, I don't really sweat birthdays. I haven't really celebrated birthdays. Again, typically I'm like, well, if I say I'm going to show up at Scum and Villainy, we'll get a lot of people to show up at the bar on a Tuesday night. But this one, 40 hits kind of hard. It hits pretty hard.
You're unless you've got amazing fucking genes that take you deep, you're in the you're middle age, my friend. Welcome to middle age.
Yeah, it's weird. I keep going to the Bilbo Baggins quote from Lord of the Rings, which is, I'm old, Gandalf. I don't look old, but I feel it in my bones, or I feel it in my heart. Because everybody's like, you look 25. And I was like, I do, and I still have acne, but
you do look like a fucking kid.
I feel old. I feel much older. It's not the years, it's the mileage.
I will be honest with you. I'm fucking shocked and appalled to hear a dyed-in-the-wool Star Wars kid like yourself pull a fucking Lord of the Rings Hobbit Peter Jackson quote to express how you feel about age, when I'm sure Han Solo said something in the recent trilogy that would have been more appropriate.
You just could have mind Alec Guinness trying to get out of that storage compartment in the Falcon and like just stopping because you couldn't go any further.
Question 2?
Okay, question 2. This one's a little wacky, but I kind of like it. If you guys had the authority to put Baz Luhrmann in charge to direct a DC or Marvel character in a spin-off movie, who would it be, and what story would Baz tell?
Wow.
I got it.
You go.
Dazzler. And he could do, let me see. So he did, what was the thing called? Moulin Rouge. So let's take an old story. Dazzler in A Star Is Born type of story.
Oh, that's nice.
Thank you. In his hands, in the hands of, what's his name again? Baz Luhrmann. That would be wonderful and stuff.
I think I'm going to go Sadly, not as disco fantastic as that. I'm going to go the Flying Graysons. I think a Baz Luhrmann circus movie gives you all of that kind of theatricality and pomp and circumstance and heightened emotions and literally people soaring through the air until it's a tragedy by the end. Um, a tragedy of which a young boy rises to decide to, ride shotgun with an old man with a predilection for putting children in harm's way.
Why? I mean, not for nothing, but why haven't they done that as a standalone movie at this point? Just the Robin story.
Yeah.
Like, because the end of the movie, like, you just, you end with the tragedy, but then like fucking he gets adopted by this fucking billionaire and shit. And you don't have to go into the Batman and Robin of it all, but like that's a pretty compelling story. I mean, I know they did it in Batman Forever, but you can get away with a whole Dick Grayson Robin movie.
I mean, it's fucking Annie, but with a fucking boy. It's like, I'm in the circus and I'm having a great time. My parents die, and suddenly here's Daddy Warbucks who rolls up in this crazy fucking car and says, "You want to come live with me, kid?"
The gun will come out tomorrow and shoot Bruce's parents and mine tomorrow. There'll be guns. What a great pull, Annie. It is fucking Annie, man. But also, it's like, you need kids to be into this shit. And they are into this, but like, put a kid up there. Like, Marvel's smart. They're doing Ms. Marvel, and she's a fucking kid. So kids are going to be able to watch a kid show. If I was DC, man, I would legit do a 11-year-old fucking Robin story with the Flying Graysons. You're right. You got the fucking circus. You can weave in. It's coming to Gotham, so you don't go to Gotham right away. Mm-hmm. Gotham is your maybe midway through the second act and your third act, or your second and third act. Get to see the dynamics of the family and stuff, and it's mostly you're focused on the kid. Like, I'm not saying it's Home Alone, but you get yourself like a Macaulay Culkin kind of kid who's interested, and Dick running around and doing shit that, like, kind of foreshadows what he will eventually wind up doing. And like, if I was a kid and I was watching a kid movie about like, this is Robin before he's Robin, I guess the only question is, like, if I was a kid and you were like, this is the Robin movie, and he never dressed up as Robin, I might be fucking mad. So maybe we got to get him as Robin somewhere. Like, the end shot for sure, he's fucking, wearing the outfit.
Yeah. I mean, but I also think that it gets to be a movie about a kid who learns some shit about his parents. Right? Like, that's the story. It's when you go from being a child to a grown-up is when you discover that your parents are just human and they're just fucking people and they make mistakes. And like, his parents got into Dutch with the fucking mob, and like, they put out a hit on him and they die in front of his eyes. But like, that idea of, the idol of childhood wonder is pulled away from you slowly and then very, very quickly.
Can't you just see like the really beautiful scene where he meets like Bruce Wayne for the first time, and like they're sitting in a room and he's trying to communicate to this kid whose whole world is fucking falling apart and stuff. And, here's this guy who doesn't have the problems that him or his family had and stuff, clearly would never be, wrapped up with criminal element or anything like that. This old multi-billionaire fella, and they relate over, there comes that moment and you get the lump in your throat where there's a long silence. And then Bruce finally says, my parents died too, and fucking, like, you start building trust between those two characters. I'm getting fucking hairs on my arm. Think about it. We didn't really get that much in the movies. Like, we got Chris O'Donnell, who was like 38 when he was Robin. So, and fucking the whole time him and George Clooney bickered and shit. So it feels like you could do a really wonderful like kids movie about Dick Grayson. Mm-hmm. I want to pay to see your Dick Grayson movie, my friend.
Yeah, well, it'll be on HBO Max because it's a smaller, riskier film.
It is a smaller, and you can cast you can cast diverse as fuck and whatnot. It's Baz Luhrmann at this point, so
right,
you're fucking going crazy. You can do whatever you want. Like, yeah, fuck yeah,
yeah.
Into the Robinverse.
Into the Robinverse. It's a shame that you can't get Tom Holland to once again play 15 years old, even though he's like 27. Yeah. But like that, you want that kind of kid who still feels like a kid, still feels young, but you can work harder because he's an adult. Do the bullshit kids hours on the set.
Sometimes I love this show. Sometimes I hate it because like I get real psyched about a thing that don't exist. I'm like, I can't wait to watch this fucking Robin show. And I'm like, oh yeah, it's just in our imaginations.
They don't exist yet.
Someday it will. Because you know what? We talk about shit on this show, and then weirdly, it winds up happening later on. So somebody fucking listening.
You don't get paid for it though.
No, we never get the money, but we're part of a long tradition when it comes to that.
It's an oral tradition.
Truly. All right, JT, what's our third question? And once again, before we dive into the third, it is JC's birthday, ladies and gentlemen. Give him a birthday tip. Can't give him a birthday blowjob because he's married and he has he's practically married. He's a family man with a child. But you can give him birthday money for heaven's sakes. So there's a link somewhere. Click on that link. Drop my man a few bucks, a few drachma, a few rubles, shekels, euros. They still have those, right? British pounds sterling. Just give them your best, man. Anything, or just send them a message right here in chat. All right, JC, take us home with our third question.
All right, that last question was from Bo H, which I forgot to announce.
Bo H, well done, Bo H.
Let's see.
Hold on. Chris Colin in chat just fucking nailed it, bro. Finn Wolfhard is Robin.
Ooh, that's pretty good.
You know what I'm saying? And it don't have to be like, oh, he's fucking Rob Pattinson's Robin. Standalone fucking Robin story.
Yep.
I want this so fucking bad. God damn it. Sometimes I hate the chat because everyone's so smart. You know, it's crazy. Like when I first started my career, I thought I was like the smartest person in the world. Like where I was like, I'm making Star Wars jokes that nobody's ever made. Now, the internet let me find out that there's billions of me out there. I'm not unique. I'm no fucking snowflake and shit. Like we all have the same fucking ideas. So there's a bunch of people out there right now who are like, yeah, fucking Robin movie and shit. All right, JC, birthday boy.
This last question is not from fat black Patrick Swayze. I would be upset.
Let's see. Okay, last one. Ryan Lestad asks, what's the content you're looking forward to most in 2021?
What is the what?
What content are you looking forward to most in 2021? So
Fair
like
enough.
Snyder Cut or
I am looking forward to the Marvel shows on Disney Plus. Like I'm a little scared I'm a little scared that I'm a grown ass man. I'm not scared, but there's concern for how much I want to watch WandaVision because that type of enthusiasm, you know, could not possibly be rewarded. Like I could want to see this thing so bad. And when they show it to me, I'm like, that's fucking WandaVision? The one in my head was better. That doesn't ever seem to be the case with Marvel stuff. So I'm not that worried, but that's just a long way of saying like, I can't wait to watch that. That one more than anything else. Like that, I keep watching the ads over and over and it hits me here. If it's the story I think it is, where she's just gone fucking crazy and she's building her own world and everyone on the outside is trying to fucking get her out. Like the new trailer, did you see the new spot they dropped? Mm-hmm. Where like somebody's going like, Wanda, can you hear us? Are you okay? Are you trapped? Like it looks like she's building this fucking world and shit, which would indicate when you get to the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, that she's essentially the big bad. So I fucking cannot wait. This show seems funny, but it also seems like it's going to be fucking very serio comic. It's going to be tragic as well. There's going to be some fucking shit going on. And you got two amazing fucking actors. Like I'll watch fucking those two cats play these characters all day long. And I think the spots are wonderful and really sweet and stuff. But I think there's an underlying sadness to this show that I can't fucking wait to get. You got to think about it. Think about her at the end of Endgame when she was just like fucking, I mean, she almost fucking killed Thanos because she loved Vision so much and shit. So she was all like in a real dark space. And this show that they keep showing us ads for, she's bright and happy and doing sitcom-y voices and things. That's clearly a mask for all the pain and shit. Like Vision can't be alive. She's brought him back or some such shit. I don't know. I can't wait to watch the show. But it's because of that. Like some people are way into the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Of course, I'm going to watch that. Some people are into what's the other one? Loki.
Loki.
Of course, I'll watch that. But this WandaVision show, I'm telling you, based on the ads I keep watching, I'm like, this seems special to me. Like I'm fucking in. It seems like it was made for me. Like it has all the elements that I'm fucking looking for and stuff. And I don't think it's going to end happy. And that's, that it feels like it has an Empire Strikes Back ending coming to it. And I'm fucking so here for that. So I know there's a bunch of shit coming out. And look, I'm very excited for my own thing and Mark's thing as well. We've got Masters of the Universe coming out on Netflix this year. They haven't announced when, but it is coming out this year. And I've seen it and it's fucking fantastic. It is wonderful. And I'm not taking credit for it. I'm not saying I'm a genius. Powerhouse Animation, knocking it out the park. That cast we got, knocking it out the park. And the story we're telling is like adventurous, is really joyful. That all being said, I think I'm still fucking looking forward to WandaVision the most, and the Batman movie. But I honestly, WandaVision more. Like I've seen many Batman movies and I look forward to Matt Reeves' Batman and I look forward to Rob Pattinson. The trailer's fucking amazing. One of the best trailers of the last year. But WandaVision seems like something different. So that's the one I'm here for. And we only got to wait like fucking 13 more days.
Yes. Nice.
What about you?
I similarly am excited for WandaVision and all my other stuff. I similarly cannot wait to see Motu. I haven't seen any of it yet. So I'm excited for that. But I think it's Dune, man. I think I can't wait to fucking see Dune.
Dune.
I'm a Dune dude, and I'm a Denis Villeneuve fan. And this story, to see it realized at this scale, feels like the kind of thing you don't get as a nerd anymore, because Dune, while yes, an international bestseller, is not on anybody's top of their list of the, hey, here's a piece of IP we should spend $100 million making. And the fact that they did makes me so happy. And the fact that hopefully I'll get to see it on a movie screen similarly makes me so fucking jazzed. So yes, bring me to Arrakis. Dune.
This movie looks as thick as the book that it is based on. It just, it looks like they left nothing on the floor. And it looks like true science fiction. Yeah. Like it's taking place on different planets and different worlds and whatnot. We still haven't seen like a fuck ton of it yet, but what we've seen is spot on for what I know of Dune. Like I've not seen anything where I'm like, hey, fucking Dune. Like it looks like Dune, just done way better, way more expensive and stuff. And when I say way better, I don't mean to shit on the David Lynch one, because I fucking love the David Lynch Dune movie. Like absolutely fucking love it. I think it's wonderful. And it's got a fraught history in terms of how it got to the screen and whatnot. And then since then, there's been multiple versions where his name's not on it, and they put in material to try to make people understand it and shit. So I love fucking the David Lynch Dune. That being said, it's kind of like gone like, well, I loved Batman 66, but this fucking Tim Burton Batman in 1989, this looks like it could be something. That's kind of like what Dune has the feel to it, where it's like, you know this story, but like you will not believe how much fucking money we spent on it, and we hired a genius to make the fucking thing.
Yeah, so that's the one. That's the one for me that I'll be burning the oil of 2020 to get to.
It's a good poll, very good poll. JC, what about you? Since you're here, and it's your birthday, for heaven's sakes.
You answer.
Honestly, your Motu series, I loved He-Man growing up. And when they redid He-Man in 2002, I was like a fiend for it. I actually the 2002 like reboot. I bought all the action figures, and I was, well, let's do the math. 2002, I would have been. I mean, I was what, 22.
22 years old, yeah.
So I'm super psyched for that. I think WandaVision, I'm excited for. We're gonna do like we did for Mandalorian, Scum and Villainies, Twitch. We'll do a breakdown of that show. I've got some Marvel experts doing that.
Nice.
I think those are the two things. I agree with you guys. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier will be good, but I think WandaVision is just it's it's such a risk. It's so weird and wacky and out there, but also so like perfect to do.
And it's earned as well because we've spent so much time with her in the movies, but not front and center.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like they'll let her and him like come to the surface, but then action and into other things. So this is the first time we get to actually spend a bunch of time with Wanda, like, you know, and find out who she really is. And you know, what they've set up through the spots we've seen and all we know based on the descriptions is a fascinating story of somebody who's like grieving. This is a story of fucking grief at the end of the day, and how you deal with grief. And we all go through that. So as spectacular as the show may seem, I think there's going to be connective material for everybody because everybody has fucking lost somebody and they would do anything in the world to bring that fucking person back. And imagine if you felt that way, plus you had the ability to warp reality. You were the most powerful fucking being in the Marvel universe. So yeah, I think it's going to be amazing. I can't fucking wait. And if I'm wrong, and if the show I'm seeing in my head is not the show that I'm fucking seeing in the trailers, well, you'll hear about it every week while me and Mark talk about it. And deep dive. I'm happy and sad that they're dishing them out one a week. But they've trained me with Mandalorian, so I'm okay with that. Gives me something to look forward to. But you know, fucking this is a show that I would put aside my script to watch. Put aside my script, step on your neck, burn your house down. I literally legit thought about it at one point. I was like, I do have fucking Kevin Feige's number, man. Like, is it like untoward to be like, bro, just give me 3 episodes? Like, can I just watch?
That's the thing you call Feige for. It's like, listen, can you get me a screener link?
He's like, oh my God, Kevin Smith's going to ask me for a fucking job. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm going to ask you, can I watch the first 3 episodes of WandaVision? I'm a fan, not a filmmaker. God damn it. Yeah, man, there's some good shit to look forward to.
I think I'd also be remiss and have to turn in my bar card if I didn't say the Book of Boba Fett.
Is that, that's coming at the end of this year.
December. It'll start in December. And I'm not a big Boba Fett fan personally, but with Favreau and Filoni behind it and Robert Rodriguez, you know, even if you're not like a big fan, like you've got those 3 guys, like they could do anything and you should be excited.
And also it's like, if The Mandalorian has proven anything for the last 2 seasons, they can take something you're not necessarily a fan of and make it something that you're like, this is now part of my fucking religion. And he's like, look what they did with fucking Boba Fett on this show. Like, and now they're going to give him his own fucking show. Yeah, I think that's going to be fantastic.
Good call.
All right, man. Oh, so on chat, Vic3 said, imagine a David Lynch Rorschach movie. That'd be fantastic, man. Holy fuck. That's good. I hadn't thought about that.
Call him up.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's it. I was getting the PayPal tip worked. Thanks, says Mana1R1. Don't forget, folks, JC's birthday is happening right now. We put up a link where you can donate. Frank Avila said, as a homeless person, I often go days without eating. My longest was 7 days. Yeah, I mean, you never want to not eat because you like can't eat, but I guess there's a line there. All right, man. We're out of material, aren't we?
We are done.
Can't say anything more because everything's been said.
It's a pretty good show. 2 hours and 45 minutes tonight about.
And we didn't think we would have enough news.
I literally was like, do we have any news? And I remember Mark texted, like, you could do a short show.
No reason that to be 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours, and we didn't even really have major news to talk about, man.
Nope.
Crazy. It was all that blowing a Cobra Kai and fucking and the list. Well, the list went through shorter than I imagined it would have. You kind of went through it like for 12 movies, we kind of went through them pretty fast. But we did deep dive on Lasso and we did deep dive on Soul. So I guess that was some time right there.
Yeah.
Did you have fun out there, ladies and gentlemen? If you did, show your appreciation to JC for his birthday. Give him a tip. He just turned 40, for heaven's sakes. Most people are like, my tip is it's all downhill from here. Nah, 10 more years. 40s were great, man. 50 is where it all fucking falls apart. But happy birthday, JC. Many, many happy fucking returns. Thank you for hosting the show and making this version of the show work as well, as we're all hidden from one another until fucking we get vaccinated. If you like this show, kids, and I do, and it seems a bunch of you do, we've had wonderful numbers lately. Thank you so much. Apparently this time on Saturdays of us doing the show seems to be the sweet spot, at least online, because it allows not just the East Coast and the West Coast of America, but it also allows us to pick up our British fans as well. What time is it there when the show begins?
It's got to be like 11, I think.
Apparently it's like not that late, man. So thank you for staying up with us and stuff. And so we'll keep doing it around this time every week because it feels like this is a regular slot now. Go figure. We found a regular slot.
Until we can go back to a bar.
Yeah, and then it'll be at night. None of this 4:00 shit. What are you, nuts? If you like what happened here today, give it up for the guy without whom it don't happen, Mr. Mark Bernardin, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
And that is the JC birthday edition of Fat Man Beyond, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kevin Smith.
I'm Mark Bernardin.
Tune in next Saturday, 4:00, same bat time. We literally have a same bat time now. Same fat channel, rather. Smodcast.com or
youtube.com/Kevin Smith.
Wakanda forever.
Indeed. May the fourth be with you.